Good morning, ladies and the few gentlemen in the audience with us. Welcome to the third Hernovation Summit 2020. Hernovation is a baby who was born 3 years ago, and we are so excited that we are still growing in leaps and bounds. We started this program about 3 years ago, as I mentioned, and just to give you a few milestones around the Hernovation program, is that we started with around 65 women who joined us for the first summit. The second summit, we grew to around 135, and today I am so proud to say that we have about 180 women who are part of our network. This is a proud moment for me, and thank you so much for walking this journey with us. On behalf of CIO East Africa, I would like to thank our partners, I would like to thank our founders, I'd like to thank our speakers, and I'd like to thank our delegates today. So why is Hernovation so important? Especially to us women today. As our MC Kate has mentioned, this is important because we are trying to grow women in IT leadership. And for any organization to be successful, it is important that we have more women in senior positions. And this is why Hernovation was birthed. And the way we do this is using 3 different methods. 1, networking, and we have had several networking events. 2, mentorship, and this is something that I must be honest, open and candid and say we are still trying to figure out how we are going to make that work. And 3 is soft skills training, and you've seen one of our outcomes, Catherine, who's our MC today. And what has the impact of this been to the women in the Hernovation ecosystem? We have partnered with Toastmasters and been able to churn out a few ladies who have now become amazing women from a public speaking perspective. We are seeing them taking amazing positions today, like Kate was appointed the chairperson of Rotary Club. We have one of our other ladies, Michelle, will be speaking later, who joined the board of Toastmasters. And this is growth for us. We've had a few of our women grow in senior positions within their organizations, and they have reached out to say thank you. Baby steps, but we are going somewhere. From a networking perspective, we look at it in 2 ways. 1, we create an equal platform for women to be able to network, regardless of seniority or junior levels. And the second thing we do is we try to give back. From a giving back perspective this year, I'm so proud to say that we have been able to partner with several organizations. 1, we partnered with Dell, Huawei, and Technogirls, Pwani Technogirls, and we're able to host an event around the International Girl Child. Secondly, we partnered with personal branding organization, Cornell Watch Styling, and we were able to deliver personal branding training session. And so many other things that we have done this year and have not been stopped by the fact that we are working from home. I think this is amazing for us. From an achievements perspective, we've been able to grow from a partner's perspective. We are getting a lot more organizations who are believing in what we are doing, and clearly there's something we're doing right. In the last 2 years, and this being the 3rd year, we have grown our partnership network to about 10 different organizations that have come on board, and I'd like to say thank you so much for that. So, Kate mentioned a little bit of what is expected today, but I'd like to step back a little bit and just talk about why this different agenda, because those of you who've been with us for several years, and this being the 3rd year, have noticed the agenda has changed a little bit this year. But why is that? Given the current situation, we have had to be flexible and adapt to how we can make this relevant for women, because women today have taken so many roles besides being the professional woman, besides being a wife, besides being a mother. Now you're teachers. Now you're finding yourselves being counselors. So how do we make this relevant for you? And on top of all that, many of us are obviously worried about things like, what if we lose our jobs today? As technology people, do we stand a chance? How do I grow my career when I'm still working from home? You know, these are things that make us panic. And that's what made us determine what we're going to talk about today. So from a business perspective, we're going to have women talk about what they've done to be able to transition. From a soft skills perspective, how do you market your career? From a wellness perspective, very important, because remember I said you find yourselves playing multiple roles in your homes and in your lives today. But how are you taking care of your well-being, your health, your physical health, your mental health? In fact, I'm so proud today to say that one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to give you vouchers to be able to go and check with a doctor if everything is okay. Are you eating right? Okay? Are you okay mentally? Are you doing your exercises? You know, are you healthy physically? So it is important that you take advantage of this and go and have yourself checked. And then there's always the issue around the elephant in the room. And we never talk about this as women, okay? So this year, we have been brave enough to take the bull by the horns and talk about the elephant in the room. And I can't wait for that panel session because it's going to be very interesting. I will not reveal any more about that. And then on personal development, as I said, how do you use your soft skills? What kind of career do you get? Career advice where do you go to get career advice from? You know, now that everything is remote. How do you use your soft skills? Where do you get soft skills from? How will they help you? So we're going to talk about all that today. And with that, I also want to conclude by saying, today is a celebration for us, okay? We have seen lots and lots of milestones. There is nothing wrong with celebrating those who have turned out to be heroes amongst ourselves. And I look forward to that session at the end of the agenda. And we're going to celebrate some of the women who have done amazing things. And we look forward to having more of you joining the celebration next year as we celebrate some of the amazing things that you've done in 2021. So, ladies, thank you for joining us. I look forward to you being with us all day. Gentlemen, thank you so much for supporting us in this journey, because without you, we would not be able to move as fast as we are moving, because we do need your partnership and we do need your support. I look forward to all of you having an amazing time today. I look forward to an engaging conversation. Please remember to tweet, post on your LinkedIn profile, whatever you're seeing on the screen right now, take a photo, post it on LinkedIn, post it on Twitter, post it on Facebook. Tell people I am here in the largest Women in Tech Summit in East Africa, which is Hernovation. Use the hashtag Hernovation, hashtag Women in Tech, hashtag CIO Awards East Africa, hashtag CIO East Africa. And remember to tag .cio at CIO East Africa. Thank you once again, and I look forward to an engaging session.
Ladies and gentlemen, habari zenyu. Let me begin by saying thank you to CIO East Africa, the co-organizers of the Hernovation Forum, flanked by Huawei Technologies and ESET, for organizing this virtual forum. I am personally delighted and humbled to be part of this event. The Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs is glad to be associated with Hernovation Forum 2020, a noble event that draws together women in leadership and women aspiring to lead in the technology space. This is a moment to reflect on actualizing meaningful changes, evaluating challenges, and making the deliberate decision to work together in closing the gaps. Ladies and gentlemen, from a government partnership standpoint, I am glad to be part of this great journey, primed to uphold a fair, inclusive environment where everyone feels empowered to share ideas. The Ministry of ICT appreciates your zeal of coming together to work together and achieve more together for a better and more vibrant ICT industry. It is encouraging to note that you modestly started off with an average of 30 inspired Hernovators, jumping to 250 leaders last year. I am glad to further note that you are engaging supportive male allies in the journey to make more women leaders in the ICT space become the industry champions. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme I was requested to speak on is taking charge of your future. As a young woman sitting as Chief Administrative Secretary at the Ministry of ICT, I'd like to take this opportunity to speak to young women like me. The message I would like to deliver to you today, as regards taking charge of your future, is on the confidence to take up space. Being female, there may be external factors that tend to hold you back or dictate that you cannot be in a certain space. Your mindset should be that you indeed can do whatever you put your mind to. As you overcome these external barriers, ensure that you are not holding yourself back, that you are not your own barrier. So do go ahead and take steps towards taking up that space that you aspire to do so. Young women and girls, on taking up space in the digital ecosystem, and indeed leveraging on technologically empowered, I want to on the Nigeria Digital Program. This is a government initiative driven by the Ministry of ICT that seeks to empower youth to earn online. with the change in the work environment that has indeed been accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Agira program seeks to prepare young people for the future work. The work is characterized by the need to use work as a machine, the ability to work remotely, and the need to continuously learn and upskill. The program seeks to achieve this empowerment by providing training and mentorship opportunities for young people, providing access to infrastructure, including computers and free internet, and by creating awareness on online work. I take this opportunity to urge the young women and girls attending today to log on to agiradigital.go.ke to explore the learning opportunities that will prepare you for the digital world. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I wish to once again thank CIO East Africa, Huawei Technologies and Asset, whose support has gone a long way in bringing us all together here today. I wish you all great deliberations during the third Hernovation Forum 2020. Together, let's increase diversity in the ICT space and support those who are underrepresented in the industry. God bless you all, and thank you very much.
Hello, innovators. Greeting, Agile project managers, and good morning, change champions. Let me start by thanking CIO East Africa and the organizers of Hernovation Forum 2020, the third edition of Hernovation Forum, for inviting me to engage with you today. I would like to talk about COVID-19, the pandemic, challenges and opportunities to innovate. We have heard it, we have read it, we have said it. COVID-19 presents many, many challenges. Generally, not welcome challenges. It does also provide opportunities to innovate, influence, explore. Let's take a minute to identify a few of our own innovations. So together, let's stop typing, stop surfing, stop multitasking, and focus. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. 1, 2, 3. Keep your eyes closed. It's February 2019. You're at work. Think about how you got there. Did you drive? Did you take a matatu? Think about where you're sitting. What does your office look like? Who are you talking to? Now, you're at work. What does it look like November 2020? How did you get there? Who are you talking with? How are you talking with them? Back to February 2019. You've attended a meeting. What did the room look like? How did you get there? Who was in the room with you? Now when you go to a meeting, what room do you go to? How do you get there? Who's in the room with you? Finally, let's think about last year, the second edition of Hernovation, Lake Naivasha. I was there. How did you get there? Who did you meet? How did you mingle? How did you network? How are you going to be doing that today and going forward? Open your eyes. As we traveled from February 2019 to November 2020, we can see all the different innovations that we have taken in how we get to work, we approach our work, and we carry out our work. Lots of opportunities for change and innovation. As IT thinkers, practitioners, and leaders, we have an advantage, an opportunity to innovate frequently. But in the pandemic, we have an ability to navigate in a new world. We've been using these tools. We've been developing this thinking of virtual and remote, and we know how to use them. I'll tell you one example of where we used those skills that we had at the United Nations in Nairobi. We were familiar with most of these tools. The UN, ICT, we had a vision. 2018, 2019, we were going to support our staff in the UN operations anywhere and everywhere in Africa. Our goal was to be the UN's green, cost-effective service provider, to enable the World Food Program to deliver food to the refugees in Dadaab in Kakuma. The UN mission in Somalia would be supporting the peace process in Mogadishu. The UN Environment Program would be tackling climate change globally based out of Nairobi. COVID was nowhere on our radar as we shifted to those cloud-based services. But then COVID hit. Then it was March 2020. We didn't panic. We innovated. We were in the cloud. Our staff had mobile devices. But did the staff have the connectivity they needed? Did they have the data redundancy that they needed? Again, the opportunity there to accelerate innovation and partnerships stood before us. The UN team, working with Safaricom, quickly, before we even went virtual off the campus, worked out how to push data bundles to staff phones, creating what we called the UN Connectivity Safety Net. So our colleagues and our clients would use their basic ISP provider, and we would supplement that with our mobile phone data bundles. In a matter of days, UN staff, and quite importantly, the supporters of the UN and the management of the UN, was confident that the UN operations would continue. And we did. People were working from anywhere and everywhere, not just across Africa, but across the globe from very early on in the pandemic. There was an opportunity that was a challenge that allowed us to innovate. So we as IT providers, professionals, have that advantage, that technical toolbox, and also a way of thinking. But we as women also have another advantage, and it became out very clear during COVID-19. We're agile. We're results driven, and we are planning mavens. We can get meals served, laundry taken care of, school plans executed, and continue to deliver. Here are a few of the examples I have seen from women that I work with. The school's closed, we're going remote. Women manage that, no problem. Household Wi-Fi distribution, managed. Homework assignments, conferences with teachers, managed. The work continued to get delivered. How about the changing shop times and curfews? No problem. Groceries were bought, meals were prepared. We kept on planning. Everybody continued to eat, and the work continued to get delivered. And then what about the emotional support that we need to do to our friends and our families? COVID fatigue. In the beginning, it was like, what is this? Then it moved into, how long is this? And now it's just sort of, it just is. But we continue to support each other, to support our friends, to support our families. Whether we're using our technology for a Zoom Zumba class or for a virtual walk. Women are uniquely using their tech skills and technology along with that agile, flexible, we can manage lots of different things, soft skills. And I think this is where what was a challenge for many is a real opportunity for us to innovate, to influence, and explore. We need to use these challenges as our opportunities to show the technical skill and how this flexible, agile, problem-solving colleague, employee, leader that we are, that this provides a foundation. And it is somewhat uniquely women, that we know how to lean into these new ways of working and challenges to make a new normal. We have an opportunity for a better normal. A normal that is going to leverage not just those technical hard skills, but seeks and rewards the agile, flexible, let's get this job done, let's get dinner served approach that women use to manage the work front, to manage the home front, and to manage the relationships on all of those fronts. It's not an easy time, but it is a time that we are very experienced in and extremely well trained for. Remember the innovations that you've implemented over the last 9 months. How were you working and managing, and what are you doing now? Continue to look at those challenges as opportunities to spotlight your strengths. Again, not just the tech muscle, but the agile, flexible muscle. And the many innovations that you have implemented over the next 9 months will continue to multiply over the next 90. You are each a wonder and an innovator, and I really look forward to engaging with you throughout today's forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Laura Chite for your opening remarks, and very excited to see how Hernovation has grown from 30 Hernovators to 250 plus Hernovators and growing. Very, very encouraging to see that all the work that is being put off is achieving results. And thank you very much, Maureen Baka. The government, it's good to hear that the government is very keen in growing diversity. And it was good to also hear about the Algeria Digital and how the young people can go in online and look for jobs. And also how we are trying to increase diversity in the ICT space. Kate McBride, thank you very much for taking through us that journey. We have visualized ourselves how we went to the first Hernovation last year in Naivasha and now. And it is some of the learnings that you've talked about is how we can lean into the new ways of working, how we can be more agile and flexible. Just to reiterate, the theme for this year's Hernovation is leaping into the new normal. And we have very exciting speakers for that. I'd like to welcome Linda Obonyo, who will be the moderator for the next panel. The panel topic is harassment, the elephant in the room. I'm expecting very candid conversations around this one. Welcome, Linda.
Good morning and welcome to Hernovation. I hope that you've been having an incredible time. My name is Linda Bonyo, and it's incredible to have you online. Thank you for joining us, and we believe that you've been inspired this far. You know, we'll continue to have this particular discussion, and we hope that you will stay on all day. My name is Linda Bonyo. I am the founder at the Lawyers Hub. We work on law and technology, and I am right at home with fellow, women who are innovating, who are working to disrupt their industries. And I hope that this today would be a fire in your belly, that you would do better, dream better, work better, and just see how to improve ourselves, because you come from one glory to another. And so thanks for joining us. Today we are joined by an amazing panel who we are going to have a discussion with on the topic sexual harassment. On harassment, and we are going to make it, broad on, what's harassment, what are the types of harassment, what can we do to be better employers, better, family, better citizens as well in that regard. So I want to introduce my panelists today, and I just want to ask them to, do themselves justice by selling themselves as they introduce themselves and why this topic really resonates with them. So I will start with Robert, if you will. Please introduce yourself.
Which Robert? This one?
Robert Yahweh.
Yeah. Good morning, all. My name is Robert Yahweh. I'm an IT consultant, and I write for CIO magazine an article called Hot Dog.
Thank you very much. And why does this topic resonate for you, Robert? Sorry, we lost you there. And Francis?
Morning, Linda. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
All right, morning, and thank you for having me on this panel. My name is Francis Mongi. I am an IT security consultant, passionate about technology and security, and I'm glad to be on this panel. I think the reason why this topic would resonate with me is from what I have observed within various places that I have been privileged to work in, and also some of the experiences that I have gone through personally, not just from a broader, when we talk broadly about workplace harassment, not really limiting it to sexual harassment. So thank you again, Linda.
Thank you very much, Francis. And now I'll go to Paris. Paris Basire. Okay, I think Paris is not online. I will continue with my colleague who's from Oxygen. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning. Thank you once again for the invitation and welcoming me to this panel. My name is Magdalene Kariuki. I work as the head of public policy and governance at Oxygen MCL. That's the marketing and communications PR firm in Nairobi. The reason why this topic resonates with me is similar to what Francis mentioned. Just some personal experiences that I've had being a survivor of harassment at the workplace, as well as now being in a position of power, so to speak, being as that now I would probably be seen to be in a position where I'm most likely to be the aggressor. So being in a position where I can influence workplace policy that then creates a safe workspace.
Thank you very much. And Magdalene, I think I'd pick up from what you just, talked about. Is it, when you talk about the elephant is in the room, many times we talk about harassment, but then don't go into the details, because the natural, thing to do, which if you went to social media to talk about it, would be they would, fast victim shame you.
Yes.
Are you able to speak maybe a little bit of detail, not necessarily dates and, but what was your experience, if you don't mind sharing?
So I've had a couple of experiences that vary. So the first was actually from my second employment, where by then I was pretty young. I think I was about 19. I was hired at a microfinance institution to help them set up books and systems. And unfortunately, the owner of the company thought that he could go ahead and physically harass me. So I'll give an instance of what led actually to even my resignation. Is it started off as him asking me to stay late to work on projects alone in the office. Then from there it became increased workload, which obviously there was also interfering with my studies. That then I pointed out and I said that I needed, that I needed a different work schedule, which obviously he didn't take too kindly. Then what he said that when now I raised the issue is that then we needed to have a meeting to discuss it, but then it had to take place after hours. So what happened is at the end of the meeting, which I thought, ended pretty well, he insists on dropping me home. Because now it was really, really late. And because now the option was I take a taxi and charge it to the company, which he didn't want. And he kept mentioning that, he's going in the same direction. He can drop me. So I didn't think too much of it. So when I get in the car, he drops me home. As I'm going out, he proceeded to grab me. So as he went to grab me, what happened is that I'd already unlocked the passenger door, and I basically threw myself on the road, and now proceeded then to run literally for my life. Needless to say, so that evening I reported the matter. Then because at least I had at least some basic understanding of the law. So I reported the matter, I got a lawyer, but then now the unfortunate thing is that I didn't have any evidence of the harassment, which I think is something that a lot of what we call victims a lot of the times go through. That's a frustration actually with the reporting. So you'll report the matter, but then if you don't have any evidence, nothing can be done. So I did not have any evidence. And then what happened is that upon because it was an immediate resignation, I was then told that I needed to pay the company in lieu of notice. So I was the one who ended up having to pay the company. But later, because of also what happened is that now I got a friend at CID then who assisted then in having us then settle the matter out of court. And then because he also did not, but then he was also a manager at another company. So what he did is that he paid off for my silence, so to speak. So then now the story changed in essence. So it moved from me owing the company to him now paying me for damages, but also just so that then the matter could go, unreported. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience. I know it's not easy, and I want to say sorry for having to go through that. Many times people will not believe you when you share such stories, and it's very unexpected. So you don't even have the time to record, to check evidence around it. So I think we're going to come back to the evidence sort of gathering, and because we're innovation as well, how do we use technology to ensure that we can actually document such stories and bring a stop to it? But I want to come to I'd want to come to you, I think, Robert, and just find out from your experience. I know a lot of ladies are impressed by the male turnout on this particular panel, and just standing in solidarity with this particular topic. The men have been, viewed as the aggressors, in this particular case. But what has been your experience, and what do you think is the impact of harassment?
What I would say is that I think predators exist out there. Across different areas and professions, and I find it very, very negative, and actually it has affected, I know, very many people, especially women in technology. For a long time has been the fact that usually things, when it comes to tech, you do things late in the evenings. If I look back to maybe 20 years ago, at the height of when we're putting up servers and networks and the rest, most of the work would have to happen after office hours or over the weekend, late into the night. And the problem was always that you could see that's why there were fewer women in the space. Because especially if you got married and you're trying to tell your husband how you'll have to stay late until 9, 10 o'clock, and you're the only female, that team. And I note it actually affected many careers. I remember at one time there was a lady who was head of IT, one of the hotel groups, and would only be able to do any kind of work after midnight because they would have to do the end of day, close all the bars and the rest before that. And I noticed that she disappeared from the IT space immediately she got married. So yes, it's a major issue. The question becomes today, are there ways to solve that? I think there are. And part of what we do as an organization is provide ways that people can access most of their platforms remotely. And therefore that means that we've seen more women now getting more involved in technology because they can reconfigure that server from home in the evening. So they don't have to spend time late in the night. So I think over the last couple of years, we have seen an improvement. But the other thing is, I think it's learning to shout. I think that's what maybe I'll tell most women is, if you know you're getting harassed, tell someone. Tell someone. I know it's difficult. And being from a man's position, it normally feels like we are not empathetic. Many of us are, and we are willing to reach out to, and I like what the other panelists said, at least she had a male friend who was somewhere in a position of authority to be able to help. But also I think what I would say is try and get enough men around you who you know you can turn to. Some of these things happen to see whether they can be of assistance. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Robert. And I like the fact that men can be allies, in helping us to reduce harassment, especially at the workplace. And I want to bring the point you made about women, that now you can configure the server from home and you're working on virtual platforms. But does it change the types of harassment that women experience or ladies experience at the workplace? I'd want to just rope in Francis on this, on maybe the difference and where harassment began and where maybe it is now, especially on digital platforms. What would be your comment on that, seeing that you're from the cybersecurity side of things?
All right. Thanks, Linda. Well, picking up from what the other panelists have talked about, and even from their experiences, I think harassment has come a long way from, pre-COVID when we were physically in the office. And I remember it happening to two colleagues of mine, where the person in authority is, demanding for certain types of favors. We call them sexual favors in exchange for an advancement in your career. And I remembered this very clearly because these were two very good friends of mine, and they would come and share with me, this is what is happening. What do I do? I can't go and talk about it because it's my word against his word, because this is someone who's like one of the owners of the company. So it became that's where it's really come from being harassed in that kind of a way within the office. If you look at it from where we are currently, we are working from home, and it's remote working, but we still have other forms of bullying or harassment, which you'd call as cyberbullying, where someone would seek to tarnish your name online if you don't do or behave in a certain way or give in to their demands. They'll choose to probably give you a bad rating in your performance review. So that has now shifted to the digital platform. But the good thing about that is that if it happens online, it's easy to document, and it's important that, as Robert mentioned earlier on, that you talk about it. Don't just keep quiet about it, but talk about it. Share with 2-3 other people about what's going on, because I would also pick up on what Robert talked about, women in tech. You're also coming into a field that's male dominated. So apart from feeling like you do not deserve to be there, or you do not really belong there, you're already at a disadvantaged place if you think that way, if that's your mindset. So if it now comes again to exerting yourself in the workplace, it becomes a bit difficult. But in a nutshell, to answer your question, yes, this is now shifting towards digital platforms. But the good thing about it is that documentation then becomes a bit easier. And there are various ways of being able to apply forensics to identify, even if someone has applied some form of anonymity when they are using these platforms to bully or harass you.
It would be important to also, sort of switch gears a bit and say the women can be the aggressors, that we might be those people who are, harassing fellow women at work, online. I remember sometimes I'm on Facebook and I saw this group on Buyer Beware where there was this thread about women just being nasty bosses. And people came in with their stories that, I can't just be, I'd never want a woman boss, any time in my life. And women saying the same thing. So why are we the aggressors? Why do we get to that particular point? And I saw the men coming in with advice and saying, women need to exercise a little bit more so that they, bring in a little bit of the I don't know, I can't remember my biology well, but the hormonal imbalance, they said, makes women sometimes very nasty bosses, which I think men have even more hormonal issues than we do. But I wonder why women could be the aggressors. What's the cause of this? Is there data supporting this? Any of the panelists who has something maybe to, just add to this question? What do you think about women being the aggressors?
Maybe as the woman on the panel.
Maybe I'll take it.
Take one for the team.
Yes. So I think there are myriad issues that come up when we say that women might be the aggressors, and I think it's that it cannot be looked at in isolation. So number one, what Francis and Robert were talking about when we say that how we can use technology to ease the workspace, or like the fact that now there are certain things that then we don't have to stay late and do, but then I can do at home. You need to remember the fact that women are the primary caregivers in the homes. So because of the duplicity of roles that women play, and it's not to say that that men don't also have multiple roles that they play in the home. Fact remains is that when we come to, just because of the African setting and how things are, when I get home, I'm still expected to become the primary caregiver. That means I need to make sure, even if it's that I'm not the one who has had to prepare the food and that I have help, I need to be able to make sure that the food is ready, that the children are fed, that my husband feels satisfied in terms of whatever has been presented. And in case there are any issues, most often than not, it is the woman who will have to address it. So just to talk about, what may have been mentioned earlier. But now then, to bring about the concept of where women are seen to be the aggressors. Yes, there might be some hormonal imbalances, but then it needs to be looked at within this context of perhaps the multiplicity of roles that she plays as a woman. I come in, yes, I have my hat as the head of public affairs where I work. But then I remember I had a conversation with Professor Nyokabi, who is a women's rights advocate, and she told me that she herself, and she told me this as, it was tongue-in-cheek, but she told me as advice to a young woman, what she can tell me is, I need to learn to check my ego when I get to the door before I get home. So I need to learn to leave the person who I am when I'm getting out of the car as head of public policy, because then when I get home, I am no longer in a position of power. And because of now that shift in terms of then what happens, you find that it has a role that it plays on your psyche. That's how I would look at it. The other thing is that also is just because women are more vulnerable, number one, in terms of physical and emotional as well as psychological abuse at home, that might play a role in how then I also operate at work. So because I've had to be checking my ego, so to speak, when I get home, yeah, you find that then I am more likely to be more aggressive when I get to work. And then there's also an issue of misconception or perception, so to speak. And in this, I mean that I was reading a book recently. It's called Forget a Mentor, Find a Sponsor, something like that. And I think it's more of the title that intrigued me because of how sponsors are defined these days. And what they were talking about is this thing of getting professional sponsors. And one of the things they talked about is the hand-holding that a lot of the times men will do for one another. So this whole conversation around the boys' club, so to speak. So what you'll find is a lot of the engagements and conversations around perhaps changes in the company or, new ideas, when now these are conversations that are happening during downtime. And downtime won't happen between 8 and 5. Downtime, the conversations, which a lot of the times have, impact on now the organization and the work in itself, will be taking place during after hours, so after 6, after 7 o'clock. Now, remember I talked about the multiplicity of roles that then I play as a woman. There's no way at 7 o'clock I am sitting down to grab a beer with my boss at about 7 or 8 o'clock, whereas the male, the men in the company, that is something that they can comfortably do because their primary caregivers, i.e. their wives, have rushed home to make sure that everything is already taken care of on the home front. So me, myself, who is also now a woman, that's not, So you find that the conversations then that are happening in terms of, the boys' club and the sponsoring, so to speak, and that's where then you find that it becomes easier, quote unquote. I understand, yes, this is debatable. But then a lot of the times when you have the conversations on whether really there's equity at the workspace, equity to mean, there are equal opportunities for both men and women to engage, you find that the more informal engagements, which will be informing decision-making, at 8 to 5, yeah, are happening in a space where I cannot participate in.
I hear you. And that
Yeah.
gets me to, when you get home. So you're this successful woman who gets home to maybe
Yeah.
someone else who's, struggling to find their life's purpose, struggling to find clients, and he feels that maybe you are too powerful. And the
Yeah.
only way to get you down may be to physically beat you and say, you know what,
Yes.
you need to get in line. And I want to just go back to Robert. We have a question in that line. Veronica is asking that why can men handle a no? Why should there be repercussions to somebody saying no to your advances? And I know here I'm putting you in a situation to speak for a whole gender, So why won't men handle, have the guts to just handle a no? And if I am being abused at home, what do I need to do? I'm being harassed at home. What exactly do I need to do?
Okay, I think one, not all men handle a no. 90% of us can, because if we couldn't, then sexual harassment would be the norm. My first employer was in a factory where we were 9. I think the only lady we had was the tea lady. My second job, I had 2 bosses, both were women. I had one boss who was a woman. And in all, I would say, maybe we have been assuming that women are not in positions of power and authority. And in the IT space, for example, when we started the Hernovation conversation, we actually went out and looked, asked the universities. That time we asked, I think, JKUAT, Strathmore, and University of Nairobi, what's the ratio of men to women? Strathmore is actually 60%. The computer science, most of the IT courses are 60% women, 40% men, which therefore means that the boy child there is already starting to have an issue, because we've put so much effort into the female side of. The same happened at JKUAT, but what we found out was when they start off in first year and second year, there are more women than men. But by the time they graduate in fourth and fifth year, there are fewer women. And we asked a few walked away. And some say more like what is being said is they realize that maybe this career will be too tough to allow me to balance both a family life and a professional life. And that's why I said maybe that's where we then have more of an issue with why there are fewer women in this space. Now, you asked about men saying no. If you grew up in a home where you had sisters, chances are you've already learned how to balance issues. This intolerance is something I think people are picking up later in life. And part of it, the boys' club thing that was raised. I'd just like to raise an issue. 90% of what we discuss in bars has nothing to do with work, even if they're all people from the same office. The discussions will be men discussions. And part of it might be where some of those conversations come in, of you're sitting with your boss and your boss is speaking of how he took advantage of one of the female employees. And then to you, it seems like maybe that's the norm, because you're a younger professional and you're sitting down with a senior. And the senior is talking about certain issues which are fairly derogatory towards women. And I believe that's where we need to solve the problem from. If you really feel that somebody is objectifying women to the point that it could result in sexual harassment or treating them as inferior human beings, for any man who has a daughter, who's married, who has a sister, who has a mother, which therefore means all men, we all have mothers, then you should be able to diffuse such conversation. And if we can do it at that level, then we'll have less of an issue going forward. So it's not that all of us men can't say no. Many of us say no many times. If anything, men are so used to rejection as a way of life that I have an issue with a man who can't accept a no. I can accept a woman who can't take a no, because generally rarely needs to ask. It's always being presented to them. They're always saying no to 90% of things. Men, we do it. You try to date, you try to to look for work, you try to, no's are normal. So I think what we're referring to here is a very small group of people who have a problem. And I think we need to address their problem as unique problems and not a general issue about men as a gender. Because like I say, I never got harassed by my bosses. I worked with very many women. I don't think I ever dated any girl any woman we worked with. And more because to me, they were part of the group.
Thank you very much for that, Robert.
Yeah. So I
really
think
appreciate.
it's let's not generalize it. Let's look for specifics and let's deal with those specifics. Otherwise, you then have a blanket accusation of men, and then we're forced to go into a defensive position, which then becomes when recruiting, you avoid recruiting women. When interacting, you try and avoid any scenario where you'll be alone with a woman. And we're already seeing it across the world. So let's be very objective about this issue.
Thank you very much, Robert. And I like what you say, that both men and women are culpable. You know, anyone can be an aggressor, anyone can be a victim. And I want to just get to, to Francis. When people get into this toxic culture of harassment at work, what's the impact? What's the economic impact, for instance? And I'll give an example. I got an opportunity to travel pre-COVID to a certain country, and the president is a woman. And I realized something about the women. They didn't dress very feminine. They dressed in a masculine way, the way they spoke and did their hands, just so that maybe they don't know, they are unaware of what happened. But as a visitor, you notice how the women behave. And it's like the men don't want anything gully. Anything gully doesn't look powerful, But then anything that is more masculine, maybe darker colors, how the women are doing their hands, maybe sometimes banging a table as they speak, that sort of exudes some sort of authority, Those minute things that look like we could ignore them, sometimes they become culture at work, What's the impact of that, especially learning from your two colleagues as well?
All right. I think what I can say is some of the impacts that I've seen is that you get to realize that when you're in an environment where it's toxic and where harassment is going on, specifically for both genders, men and women, you will find that, for instance, if there's a place where I worked and people would not leave at 5 o'clock, you would end up, if you're the first one to leave at 5 o'clock, it even feels odd because everyone else is staying on to work until 9 p.m. And some of this is as a result of the fact that, someone is staying on so that they can impress the boss, or someone is staying on longer so that they can because leaving early would be a career limiting move. You find situations where if you don't attend a company function, let's say the CEO is throwing a bash for the company and you're not in attendance, then it looks like, it becomes a career limiting move as well. But I think it creates an environment where people are not free to exert themselves. People are not free to give their best because they're afraid. They're afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid of the repercussions of saying no. So in the end of it, I think it in the long run, it would affect the organization and the direction that the organization is heading. The outlook of the organization from the outside, when people hear stories about what's happening internally, they really do not want to come and work there after reading the reviews and hearing about the reviews. And so you end up losing very good crop of talent. And when you lose good talent, it just basically means that you don't have the best people in place to steer the organization where you want it to move to. But over and above that, I think what it really does is to introduce a culture in the organization where people can realize that I can get away with anything that I want to do. Yeah. So And that's why I think proper policies need to be put in place and proper structures need to be put in place in order to curb this kind of behavior.
Thank you very much for that, Francis. And I'm going to wrap this up by asking my panelists one final question on a call to action. What do you do if you're being harassed? And I'd want to just ask, especially Francis, to speak about the online, if somebody is either trolling you, talking about your pictures, whatever it is. We've had now things around revenge porn, where people actually can play with videos and tamper them just to show that, this is what you're doing. What do we do? How do we report? For women who already are running organizations, how do they ensure that their organizations are actually not aggressors and they have this, good working environment where innovation can thrive and that they can even expand their business territories? So I'll start from, Magdalene, and then I'll close with Francis.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yes.
So one of the things that we could do as employees, that is, number one, what Robert mentioned, if you feel that you're being harassed, please make sure that you reach out to someone. So, and I think this is something that many of us forget to look through when you're signing our employment contracts. Request for the HR policy and request for or the HR policy or an employee handbook. That should outline the reporting mechanisms that are in place in the company. So from an employee perspective, number one, follow the mechanisms or the systems that have been put in place to report any form of harassment. And remember, this is not just sexual harassment. There are very many forms of harassment that range from verbal to cyber bullying to retaliation to quid pro quo that I think have been referenced to during this conversation. The other thing I would say is get evidence, document. And I think through the use of technology, like for instance, if someone is sending you, nudes, or they decide to harass you by sending you insulting messages, make sure that you have that printed out and attached to the report that you're going to give. The other thing is
10 seconds.
If worst gets to the worst, you could resign and claim for damages. Obviously, a longer route. Because then you have to go through the legal system, but it works. So that is actually, it's an option that is available to employees.
Thank you very much, Magdalene. And we'll go to Robert.
Two things. One, I would say organizations need to put into place a way to make anonymous reporting. Today with technology, it means that if somebody's been sending you nasty WhatsApp messages, you should have a way to send those to management without you being known, but the other party being known. So let their number be visible, but yours is anonymous. And I believe the minute we do that, then we'll cut off 90% of what is going wrong. Because it all starts with us. Like you're saying, it's a text that seems suggestive.
Yeah.
And if you don't deal with it at that moment, chances are it will escalate. But if somebody knows that that message could get sent to management or to HR, then they'll become more. But we will also need to have a similar platform for the larger nation in a way, because what you have is somebody could be in a small organization where could even be the HR person themselves who are harassing them. Then who do they turn to? Is there a larger platform on which you could share that information? Then secondly is, I note that men have a dress code in an office. Button your shirt to the top and put on a tie. Can we just implement the same for women and we'll reduce a lot of what harassment is going on? I know people know it's unfeminine, but if I'm forced to I have to tie. I can't show up with my shirt 4 buttons open.
Yeah.
So why is it that a woman is allowed to walk into the office with her cleavage all showing?
I wish we had
We are
time.
animals. At the beginning, we are animals first and foremost. Let us not forget that.
Thank you very much, Robert. We go to Francis.
Thanks, Linda. I'll focus on the tech bit of it, which is probably in the case of cyberbullying or cyber stalking. There are various avenues you can use to make a report. For instance, the KSAT website has a portal where you can go and make a complaint. Just type in a few lines and then click on submit the report. There are also hotlines that they have which you can call to make a report. Also, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, the DCI, has an avenue where you can also make a report. And I remember a media personality some years ago, was being bullied online, and she managed to follow this through the DCI, and they actually managed to find the perpetrator. So this is a very effective avenue you
Another
can
10
use.
seconds.
And now in the workplace, I would say that the organization needs to, set up whistleblowing platforms, as Robert mentioned, so that you can anonymously make your complaint and it can be followed up.
Platform. That's KCERT. You can find them on Twitter as well, and their hotlines are also available for you to report. I want to summarize what we have talked about, that do not condone harassment at the workplace, at home, in society. Let's not condone it. We remember the movement, the Me Too movement, where people came out to speak about what they were going through, and it brought down even celebrities. So do not be an aggressor. Do not be the person that is inflicting pain on other people. But when you're at work, ensure that the environment is not toxic. Report. Say no, however feeble, however, whether it's in a whisper, but say no, document, and ensure that as an organization, the law requires you that if you have more than 24 employees, that you must have sexual harassment policy. So ensure that you have these particular policies that will limit your liability as an organization. If you're an employee, ensure that you speak about it, report it, however, anonymously, and we hope that we will eliminate harassment within the innovation ecosystem. Thank you so much for joining us, and to my panelists, thank you so much for your time. Magdalene, Francis, and Robert, I hope you all have a good day, and thanks for joining us. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you so much to the delegates, and we look forward to the next session.
The next topic is around Train the Entrepreneur. It will be led by Maureen Moniki. Maureen is the director with Huawei Technologies, and Christine Mutumo, managing director, Spectrum Engineering.
Hello, everyone. How are you? My name is Maureen Moniki, and I'm from Huawei Technologies. I'm the WIT director, Women in Technology Huawei director, and pleased to be here. I'm pleased to be part of Hernovation event once again. And it's an honor to be present and actually speak about how far we've come from the last year we were here. And the journey has been awesome. I can say that from way back that when we started with the foundation, we found ourselves walking this journey together with Hernovation. And right now we can attest to how far we've come. And we're very grateful that even as a director, as I stand here, I'm so honored to be a great participant in this. So thank you so much for giving me a chance once again. Today's topic is about entrepreneur. And entrepreneur just more or less speaks about how far we've come from taking the journey together with entrepreneurs who are women-owned businesses that we have supported as Huawei together in this journey of trying to embrace the digital divide. Most of the times we tend to find ourselves inclined towards just focusing on giving more and more businesses to people who maybe might not be really women-owned businesses. But right now, when we started the WIT, one of the 6 pillars that we talked about is procurement. And one of the things that we focused on was to try and support women-owned businesses to try and come up and also try and uplift themselves and walk the journey and walk the talk, and also have a chance to also speak out in this particular giant that we call the telecommunication and also the engineering business. So it's not only inclined towards just trying to say that we preach water and drink wine. We can even attest to even one of our partners who's here with us today, who has walked the journey with Huawei for over 10 years in the telecommunication industry. They have been our partners, and it is a women-owned business. And you can see how far they've partnered with Huawei in terms of trying to build this telecommunication industry, and also just generally the engineering sector, because we can't say that this is just ruled men alone. So we can say that we've also had the opportunity of doing some trainings, as Huawei, as a big giant in the telecommunication industry. Sometimes you find that it becomes very easy to walk the journey, but you cannot walk alone. So we've tried to uplift some of our partners, and the women in owned businesses have come in handy during this time when we launched with. And during this period, for the last 1 year, we've been able to even onboard in different sectors about 8 women-owned businesses. These are women in different areas, not only in the engineering area. And this tells you that we are not only just talking about trying to not support this kind of women. We're also trying to see how well can they also place themselves in this kind of era where things are really, really tough. But then at the end of the day, they also have the skill set, they also have the trainings, they also have the manpower to come on board and walk the journey. It's just that sometimes they never get that opportunity to be had. So we've had, and we've actually worked with them, and we have seen the opportunities. Actually, they're doing wonders. They're doing, if we can talk about building the network, such as even upgrading to 4G, we can talk about even upgrading to such areas as AI. And all this just takes an opportunity that you just give planting that seed, and you find that it never disappoints. So we planted that seed, and we found ourselves even now walking the journey and having even more trainings. We've had a couple of trainings where we've had almost 6 women-owned businesses that are being trained on AI, on networking. Right now we are moving towards this big market where everyone has to keep up with the speeds of the digital era. So we are not leaving anyone behind. We're right now talking about 5G. We're not leaving anyone behind. So as we walk this journey, we're also working together with our partners. And I'm really, really pleased to have this opportunity to also introduce our great partner. She has been in the telecommunication industry for well over 15 years. And the experience is quite vast, and she has partnered with us for over 10 years. So I'd like to introduce and welcome the MD for Spectrum Engineering, Christine Matumo, who will also speak about how well Huawei has supported her to even get to the brand of being an international brand, where she's matching up with the international standards, she's matching up with the international well-being, and now she's even playing with the sector of how far Huawei has held her hand all the way to where she is right now. So welcome so much, Christine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maureen, for the introduction. My name is Christine Matumo. I am the Managing Director of Spectrum Engineering Limited. Spectrum Engineering is an integrated company that focuses its services on telco operators and the original equipment manufacturers like Huawei Technologies. Huawei is such a company that we've been on a journey with for more than 10 years. I believe we started our cooperation with Huawei in 2006. That was approximately 3 years after Spectrum Engineering was established as a telecom company. Through our partners with Huawei, we've been introduced to technical solutions that have helped us move our company from just being a service provider to a more technology company. A good example would be we're using IT tools in how we implement, track our projects, and also resources. So when we have teams in the field, they're using technology like face recognition. That way we're able to track the resources and see who is on site, who's expected on site, and that we don't have people who are not approved trying to work on those sites. Having worked with Huawei, we've been able to improve our efficiency. That's one of the things. And then this partnership has been long in the sense that we have multi-year contracts that are negotiated over a long period of time. So they're not just talking about it, they're walking the walk. So they're moving with us step by step. Every time the technology changes, They train our engineers to keep up to par with their technology, and that keeps us moving. In another way that we have seen a lot of help from Huawei is that they have encouraged us to improve our processes, and that has helped us achieve internally international standards like ISO 9001 and OSHA's 18000-2007 certification. So that's it from Spectrum. I'm really proud and happy to have been invited to participate in the Hernovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, for such a splendid discussion. And you can see how far we've brought some of our suppliers. And this is just one of the key stories that we'll be able to share together with the journey. The cake is really big out there. Together with Huawei, we're going to partner with more and more women-owned businesses, just so that we can try and have that opportunity to continue entrepreneuring her, having that entrepreneur skill set into Huawei, because as Huawei, we are global standard. We tend to find different global and meet different international standards. And the more we have these skills and having these entrepreneurs joining us, this kind of women-owned businesses joining us, it gives them an opportunity to grow and to be able to venture out there and become one of the big players and partners of Huawei. So with that, I just want to thank you, and I hope that this can give voice to more and more partners who are hoping, or even women-owned businesses that are hoping that they don't have any chance of growing themselves. It all starts with a journey. Every journey has one step at a time. And one thing I may say that to be a partner with Huawei is not easy, but at the end of the day, that not being easy is what actually puts you out there. It sets the bar as high as possible for you. So do not shy away. Do not think that it is not possible. With Huawei, we always say that we make it possible, and it is always possible with us, and it is always possible to have that chance to grow with others. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Washeke, a leadership and a management consultant, and also a unconscious bias facilitator. I'm also a leadership and life and business and executive coach. Today, I would like to speak with you about career capital and how you can actually increase your value in terms of your career capital. So really, what is the context behind which we are discussing the issues of career capital? Today, as you all know, we are operating in a knowledge worker economy that is very, very driven by the knowledge that you hold and the competencies that you bring as an individual. And therefore, the most important thing for you to know is that you are the asset, you are the resource. And you must protect that asset, you must protect that resource. But in terms of also protecting it, you must also increase the value of that asset and the value of that resource, which is yourself. So when you talk about career capital, we are going to also explore the 4 elements that make your career capital. Today, we also know that in this environment we are operating on, you cannot depend on your employer or your HR to manage your career. Many of us, as we go on, as we continue, will be actually giggers. We will join the gig economy. Gone are the days when all of us leave school and we want to find a job with an employer. Of course, we usually first of all start with an employer and then later join the gig economy. Some of us join the gig economy straight away. We know what we want. Research right now shows that even the bulk of individuals leaving universities, even senior or individuals also who have been working for a very long time, are more and more joining the gig economy, where they're becoming freelancers, managing their career and managing their value and productivity and their worth in terms of the job and talent market. It is important for you to know, even if you are employed, for example, you still cannot be depending on your employer or other people to tell you what is your value in the market and how to increase that value, how to communicate that value, how to protect that value from being undervalued by others. So we are going to look at career capital today, and you taking responsibility over your own career, and then also the ability to transition from one industry to another. That is very, very important. And also transition through life from one stage of your life to another. The career you would have when you're 20 to 30, you would want to change it between 30 and 40. Probably the career you are in when you are single and now you are married and you're committed, you have children and family to take care of. You may want to manage your career differently because you want more time for your children, you want more time for your family. The career you want to have when you're maybe 50 or 60, you may want to slow down or you may want to pick up. All this is part of managing your career and your career capital. So in terms of industry themselves, sectors themselves, the jobs you want to do, and even in terms of your timelines of life, your journey of life. A career, by the way, is not a job, just one job. Career is a collection of all the productive value, that the total sum of your productive value that you can package and actually monetize it or get value out of it. Sometimes it's not just monetizing it, because even in a career, there is value in receiving that self-fulfillment when you're doing something that you love, and giving back to the society is also part of career. So even community service that you could be giving and not earning any money out of it, but you're earning that psychological and spiritual satisfaction that you're doing good in the world is also part of your career. So you need to get rid of this misconception that career is a job. The job that I have as an accountant, that is my career. Career is a collection of jobs that you may do, a collection of productive opportunities that you may have, where you create value and you take value. So your career runs through from the time you enter the job market or become productive or you leave university. So even though when you're a teenager and a child, yes, you're still productive because you're still bringing value to the people you interact with. But when you start actually packaging your value in a certain way and saying, this is a profession and this is what I want in exchange of me bringing this value to this space. And your career does not end because you have retired at 60 or at 40 or at 50. It continues even post-retirement. I like to say retirement is not stopping to work. It's just change of work and pace of work. We used to say that it's also changing where you work, but because sometimes you are working in an office, now you are working from, you are gigging. But we know these days, even with now the new wave or the new way of working from home, you can work from anywhere. We are calling it working from home or working from anywhere. So really, a career is not an office job. So it's your ability to remain productive and to be able to package that productivity and get value out of it and give value to it. Managing your career capital starts with knowing yourself. I want to say this: you are the resource and you are the asset. You are the holder of that capital. You're the one who can increase that capital or reduce that capital. So you are always building your capital, building your worth and value in the market, whichever market you're in terms of that. So you must become your own self-agent. You must have self-agency when it comes to managing your career. So career is a journey. Career, again, as I've said, is not a job. It's not one skill. It is a sum total of your employed productive value, whether it is self-employed or employed, but your employed self-value. That's the best way I could actually define it. It's all the jobs you have done and can do, the people you have worked with, the leaders who have led you and you have led, the experiences, the accumulative experience, skill and growth and technical competencies you have acquired over a period of time and will continue to acquire. It even includes your potential into the future. It is part of your career capital. So you are your greatest asset. So to manage your career, you need, yes, to know yourself, and you also need to know your context, which is your environment, in terms of the jobs you want to do, the industry you want to join, even the geographical region you want to work in, because now we are international and global citizens. Mobility, career transferability is really now the issue today. It's part of our lives today. So career capital has got 4 components. One, what I call the technical capital. The technical capital, these are your academic and professional qualifications, your first degree, your master's, your PhD, your project management qualification, your certified accountant, certified company secretary, and all those the IT, whichever, all those technical competencies that you have acquired because you have gone and studied a trade, a certain trade, and therefore you have become knowledgeable, aware, you know the technical issues about that. So that is one of the career capital. The second career capital is your personality. You bring, that capital is inherent within you, the value that you bring as a person. You're a product of nature and nurture. Naturally, you are born with a certain personality and a disposition to be a people person, a number person, and such kind of a thing. And also your environment, the nurture also shapes you in a certain way. So your personality traits, your personality strengths and capabilities you bring, they are part of your career capital. Because if you're doing, let's say, like a customer service job, you're an extrovert, you are a people person, you just build more on that. You go and learn communication, how to communicate with customer, but it naturally flows out of you because you really are a people person. Somebody else is a number person. And that's why I encourage, in terms of that particular capital, it is good to have a personality assessment. This assessment change over a period of time. Again, as I've said, you're a product of nature and nurturing. So your environment keeps changing you. The third career capital is what I call skills and experiences accumulated over a period of time through the various jobs you have done, the various people you have interacted, even through the goings and the comings and the highs and the lows of your own life. You become skillful. Some of us have come out more resilient in this season of COVID. We've learned how to be resilient, to be adaptive, to adjust. So that affects our personality, yes, and also, of course, is an experience. You can say, I'm a very adaptive person, I'm a very agile person. I did this and that job, therefore I learned how to manage people, to manage projects. So the experiences you have accumulated through the various jobs you've done, actually formal and informal, but also through the journeys of life and what you have gone through that has made you the kind of a person, the kind of a leader that you are. The fourth element of your career capital is what we call the social capital or the networking capital. The people you know and the people who know you, and the value they can actually bring into your career. You may be known by so many people and you may know so many people, but they're completely irrelevant to your career. They're just maybe friends and colleagues you hang out with, you have a drink with on Friday. But when it comes to your career, they cannot refer you, you cannot refer them, or they cannot give you any advice. So this issue of social capital also includes mentors, coaches, teachers, and all those individuals that actually bring a certain value to your career. They are willing to refer you, to speak for you, to advance you also. As part of your social network, part of your social capital is also even former supervisors who have supervisors of goodwill, of course. We have some who have no goodwill in terms of developing their people or referring individuals. So that is really career capital. I would like to talk about the issues of technical capital once again. It's the qualifications that you acquire. But throughout life, the most important thing to be asking yourself is, what am I learning and what should I be learning? There is general management qualifications you should acquire if you want to get into management roles. When we start as individual contributors in our careers, then we become team leaders, then team leaders of team leaders, we join middle management. We become very good in operations. When you're in middle management, probably that's the time that most people do tend to do an MBA or courses like project management and such. Myself personally, I began as a mechanical engineer, and then I took a second degree in environmental planning and management with focus on sustainable development, linking social issues, economic issues, and environmental issues together so that you talk about sustainability. And then I did other qualifications that helped me advance in terms of my technical capital. Project management, change management. I'm Balance Scorecard certified. I'm a certified company secretary, certified in change management, certified, as I've said, in project management. Coaching, I have a diploma in coaching. I took a second language, French. So all these are qualifications to increase my career capital. But don't take any course just for the sake of taking a course. Ask yourself, what is the next move I want to make? And then take courses that are also transferable. Some of the skills are transferable. You can move them across industries. Like project management is really a very transferable skill. MBA is a very transferable skill. You may also want to be a specialist, therefore you take specialized technical program because you want to be an expert in a certain field. In terms of personality, now how then do you look at your personality? It's the issues and say, who do I need to be? Become more of yourself, but with skill. I'm not asking you to change your personality or to become a different person. It's just to become you more, become more of Washeke, but with skill. So knowing my personality, then I say, how can I then continue to improve my emotional intelligence, my self-awareness, my social awareness, the ability to negotiate or deal with difficult conversations, to lead courageously, to be much more authentic. So when you bring a personality of authenticity and good character, then you really then become credible. I like to say that credibility is one of the biggest, when you talk about social capital, credibility is one of the biggest pieces as you go as you grow within your career. When people see you as credible, then they are willing to employ you, refer you, collaborate with you in cross-cultural, cross-country projects, for example, in gig economy, in freelancing, whichever, because you are of such great value. You are credible, and credibility is made of two components, competency and character. Competency, you are world-class in your knowledge. You are an expert in that field you say you are an expert. They can see from the results and what you have produced, including from your referrals. Then a character. Your character is above board. You say what you mean and you mean what you say. You keep your word. You keep time. Such small things are part of your career capital. When you're invited for a meeting, you give progress update. You keep time, you contribute, accountabilities which are given to you, you report on them. That is part of character, where people know that your word is your bond. So to be credible, which is really a big part of your career capital, is the issues of competency and character. So it's not about changing yourself, it's about becoming more with skill. You see, you can have like, let's talk about, I like the way, is it one of the former presidents of the US, or even I think also a Chinese philosopher said this, that give me 6 hours to cut a tree and I will spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. Then I'll cut the tree. So it's an issue of, it's an axe, but it has been sharpened. So what I'm saying, be you, but a sharper you. I think that makes it much easier. The third career capital in terms of experience and skills, what should you be asking yourself? Today, we are operating in an environment which is becoming much more multi, inter, and cross-cultural. So the issue is to say, how do I make myself globally attractive in different markets? So it is to increase your cultural intelligence. You make yourself a person of high value because of how you can collaborate across functions, across industries, and across regions. So that's another way of actually making yourself a high value in terms of your career capital. Also look for high value jobs, high value organization, industry, regional, and global. All of us start somewhere. So start where you are and progressively grow. If you work for a company with 200 people, seek to grow in a company of 1,000 people, 2,000 people, and then international, whether it is collaborative work or as employed or as a consultant. These are a way of increasing your experience and skill in that space of career capital. The final one on social networking, as I talked about, is about who knows you and who you know. You should deliberately and consciously have what I call targeted networking. There is targeted networking and organic networking. The organic one that happens naturally through your contacts, just naturally, you are invited here or there. Then targeted one is saying, which communities of practice should I join? How should I, of course, also communicate myself on the social platform, LinkedIn, Twitter, and such. Especially LinkedIn and Twitter, they are really much more supportive of career issues and projecting yourself as an expert and as an authority and a voice in a certain space. So those are the 4 pieces of career capital. Again, technical, then personality trait and who you are, and then skill and experience, and the 4th word, so your social capital. Collectively together, they make your career capital. And you should focus on those 4 and continue saying, how do I protect what I already have? And how do I increase value in what I have? How should I package that value? How should I communicate that value? And what should I be getting for that value? Because also you also need to know what you're worth in the market. If you pay attention to that, then you will be really guarding yourself as an asset, increasing your value as an asset, communicating yourself as an asset, and packaging yourself as an asset. And you truly are going to be a brand. So I am brand Washeke. I am known for certain expertise. When you talk about change and transformation, when you talk about HR transformation, coaching, diversity, equity, and inclusion, unconscious bias. Those are things I tweet about, write articles about. If you go to my LinkedIn page, you will see a coherence and a consistency with what I'm telling you, because people will go on your social media pages to see, is she consistent? What she says, is she what she is? Or what he says, is he what he is? That you should be consistent in all your platforms where you appear, you project and communicate yourself. And with that, I wish you all the best in terms of your career capital, managing your career, protecting and defending the asset, and growing the value of that asset. Thank you.
Everyone, my name is Karen Cherry and I'm the CEO of ESET East Africa. I feel I have a very important job to do here today. I'm a woman in cybersecurity and I feel it's my moral obligation to raise awareness amongst both men and women that cybersecurity is definitely a career choice for women, and that without women, we will not be able to stay ahead of the wave of cyber threats that are populating the internet. So people can be put off by cybersecurity because they think it's a purely technical career, but some have little technical background, such as me. In fact, I started in the arts with English and journalism and ended with a degree in information systems, but I was the only student at UCT to study anthropology with my business degree. So today I speak with this experience, which has benefited me greatly in my role. So perhaps some of you recognize these three actresses in this image from the movie Hidden Figures. If you haven't watched the movie, it's a must-see, and I would also show it to your kids if you can. In the early 60s, NASA acquired electronic computers from IBM, and computer programming became women's work because men distrusted computers and believed their own human calculations were superior. This ended up giving women early experience in the new skill of computer programming. So their job title is actually human computer. So the movie is about three women who help NASA win the space race. John Glenn is the first man to be sent into orbit, thanks to the mathematics of Katherine Johnson, who calculated the correct flight trajectories. A mother of three and a modest genius, Johnson had one goal in mind: solve the problem. So her unfaltering computations kept John Glenn safe as he orbited the Earth and came safely back home. But even as she computes this high math, she's experiencing racism and sexism at the office. And actually her male counterparts mistake her for the cleaning lady. Right, do any of you recognize this building? This is Bletchley Park. It was the top secret during World War II, and the stories were only declassified in the 70s. So Churchill described Bletchley as the goose that laid the golden egg, but never cackled. So everyone kept their secrets for more than 30 years. And today, Bletchley's impact on the war is common knowledge. But before the 70s, some of the Bletchley staff weren't even aware that they'd been involved in code breaking. So the onus placed on secrecy was enormous because everyone knew lives were at stake. When Bletchley started in 1939, 40 working for the UK government. In 1940, there were over 500 personnel and 56% were women. And by December, this number had grown to 65%. So on Bletchley's roll of honor today, 63% are women. And women outnumbered men 2-1. So solving the German code enigma was what won the war for the British. And Alan Turing had a sea of women on the floor working to do this. So there's another great movie to watch, The Imitation Game. But why are all these women so important? These are the role models we have never heard about. Women have been in cybersecurity doing amazing things for generations, whilst leading normal family lives. And the sad truth is these stories are vastly overlooked. There are so many cyber threats emerging and attacks happening every day. In the first quarter of 2019, over 500 new cyber threats were being populated on the internet every minute. Globally, the security workforce must grow 145% to meet demand, and the skill shortage is at 4 million plus and growing every day. But let's have a look at Kenya. Kenya has one of the highest number of internet users, with over 46 million people having access to the service, according to Internet World Statistics. But with the acceleration of digitalization comes insecure consumer habits, and this, coupled with inadequate cybersecurity measures in key sectors, turns Kenya into a very lucrative target for cyber criminals. The National Cybersecurity Center reported over 34 million threats in 2020 before the pandemic hit. So the work that the National Cybersecurity Center is doing is extremely important. In order to stay ahead of these malicious actors, nations need to have strong defense arms so that they are able to track and uncover major attacks and be able to educate the public and grow awareness of cybersecurity, which I believe the Communications Authority are working hard to achieve. The skills gap is enormous in Kenya, but changing fast every day. And in 2018, there were only 1,700 skilled workers. With the continued digitization of the economy, intensifying cyber attacks, and expanding skills gap, lack of specialized skills in cybersecurity, if not well addressed, may become a national vulnerability in most countries. So I read last week that Honorable Joe Machero, the ICT Minister, recently stated that the high rate of cybercrime happening in the country can be attributed to a large number of skilled tech-savvy youth who are unemployed and seem to be turning to cybercrime. So research, education, and soft skills are very important in fighting cybercrime, and I believe there are three components of this. We need collective awareness to pay attention to what is happening in the digital world of cybercrime and bring government and the private sector together to fight it, both men and women. There is also a need for collective behavior. How we view cybersecurity has social and cultural implications and is so important. Our societal perception of the industry needs to shift fundamentally, and the responsibility of all individuals in this process needs to be recognized, as is instilling a sense of ethics in our people, particularly our youth, and for us to promote ethical hacking from a young age to ensure they don't turn to cybercrime. Now in Kenya, we can't do all this without women, because they form such a key part of the employment base. And research also tells us that the more diverse our workplace is, the more potential it has to be productive and innovative. So, after all, UN Women, which is the United Nations entity dedicated to gender equality and the empowerment of women, report that economies where women are empowered and working actually grow. Gender gaps in the world's economies are extremely costly, can cost economies up to 15%. So having women in the workforce, and particularly in leadership positions, has a far greater impact on overall organizational performance. But at the moment, we are trying to beat our opponents at a game of chess without having all the pieces on the board, and the cyber criminal gangs are winning. So what is stopping us currently from defeating this problem in cybersecurity? Well, access to leadership and managerial positions for women remain a challenge, where men are 4 times more likely to hold executive positions and 9 times more likely to hold managerial positions. And the pay gap at all levels of the organization persists. In addition to this, women are considerably underrepresented at only 11%, which is far lower than in most other industries. They are less likely to benefit from leadership programs and often do not feel valued. To top it off, more than half of women in cybersecurity are victims of some form of discrimination, which is something I can attest to myself. So, various types of stereotypes also exist, from really techie, geeky men, often in cubicles, to stealthy, hooded figures. And when it's a woman, it's often, ridiculous genius goth chicks, implying only genius off-the-wall women can take on these roles. Meanwhile, the reality actually looks like this. collaborative teams working together to manage and solve daily issues happening across multiple functions of the organization to achieve what we call cyber resilience. And to beat cybercrime, organizations today need to be resilient. They need to be agile and adapt to the ever-changing threats they are faced with. So to mitigate the risks of what is now the inevitable breach, we need to be able to recover from the aftermath. Cyber resilience requires businesses to scrutinize people, understanding how an organization uses, manages, exchanges data, process, understanding how businesses process and how work takes place, technology, using technology to free up time and automate where possible. And through all of this, organizations need to assess their appetite for risk. And so to achieve this, organizations require that cybersecurity be a mindset. It's a top-led, acute awareness of what cyber threats mean for an organization and an interpretation of what is required in context, and which draws from social, cultural, and behavioral viewpoints. So the challenge really lies in our behavior and our response to something we really fear but can't quite quantify, as it feels like it's out there. So the skills required in cybersecurity are multifaceted. And the more diverse the sets of skills we bring in, the better our ability to solve the complexity of the problem. So this diversity of thought within cybersecurity and risk mitigation is crucial because the same processes and way of thinking can both make both products and people predictable. And if the same types of vulnerabilities always crop up and the same type of security strategy is used, it can make it far easier for threat actors to bypass an organization's defenses. Now, there are a vast range of employment options to assist with all of this, from organizations needing graphic designers to accurately articulate cybersecurity awareness, to training, to network administration, to being skilled on the dangers of social media, and of course, ethical hacking. Now, we are not living in an era of change, but in a change of era. The digital transformation that is taking place is happening at incredible speed, and we are living in a VUCA world more now than ever before. If you haven't heard the term VUCA, it stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, and is a catchphrase for, hey, it's crazy out there. So this description cannot be more true than in the realm of cybersecurity. As cybersecurity becomes increasingly complex, we need to break down the perception that it is just about technology and that it actually requires a diverse range of competencies. Neuroscience has discovered that all our decisions are based on emotion. In addition to logic-based decision-making, emotional intelligence is increasingly a crucial component in combating cyber threats such as social hacking. So we are heading more and more onto the extremes of this VUCA scale, and with that, we require a greater and greater agility to keep learning, unlearning, and relearning. Bringing women into the workplace can help us to see things from a more balanced and inclusive point of view and keep our workforces continually learning. So, in summary, we urgently need women in cybersecurity to help our economies with the skills shortage, to flood the market so that we can change the way we perceive cybersecurity and rid it of the stereotypes that typically mislead us, to make the workplace more diverse and draw from a myriad of competencies, which has been shown to drive innovation. And cyber resilience requires organizations to solve complex, ever-changing problems. And science shows this requires innovative thinking. Research shows that when women enter the workplace, economies grow. And lastly, to win the war on cybercrime, much like the ladies at Bletchley contributed greatly to winning World War II for the Allies. So to conclude my talk, I want to end off with 3 very crucial points. Let's keep reminding ourselves of the changes required to make cybersecurity attractive to women. So let's do this by scrutinizing our job descriptions and roles in cybersecurity for any unconscious biases we might be thinking of. Don't discredit the arts and cybersecurity skill sets. They're as important as any of the STEM requirements. And as I've done in this presentation, keep talking and reminding our youngsters, both boys and girls, of the incredible women role models that have existed in history and that exist today. So at ESET, we are a proudly diverse team in Westlands, and we're happy to chat further. Thank you, Hernovation and CIO, for having me, and thank you all for listening. Asante, enjoy the rest of the conference.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in on to Hernovation. I'm really excited about this program. I learned about it about 2 years ago when Laura reached out to me to speak at one of the breakfasts. At that point, I was in employment, so I was speaking about what it means to be a woman in tech, in a rising career and in leadership. And it is an extension of that lesson that I'm going to be speaking about to you today. Is how do you transition from employment to running a business? I've been thinking a lot about this topic because it's not something that everybody is ready for, but it's not entirely hard for nobody to actually do it. I think every one of us can actually do it, but it's all about timing and ensuring that you're doing your thing. So my name is Chiko Gitau. I'm a co-founder. We are 3 co-founders and CEO of Kala. Kala is a digital innovation lab based here in Nairobi. So when I think about my transition from employment to entrepreneurship, it's one of those things. Let me give you a story. I'm sure many of you have heard it, but I'll just say it again. There's a group of tourists that were going down the Zambezi river, and you know the Zambezi river has a lot of crocodiles, but they were put in a cage and they were able to experience flowing down the Zambezi river. But the tour guide said that there's always a running challenge that anybody who can jump off the boat and run and swim all the way to the other side will win $1 million. And everybody's like, I mean, it's not worth it. It's not worth my life being eaten by crocodiles. Then all of a sudden, this guy just jumps and swims and really swims, and thankfully makes it on the other side of the river. And of course, it's the first time. So he actually did get the $1 million. But at the end of the day, everybody was like, "How did you jump?" And he was like, "I didn't jump. Somebody pushed me." And then he kept asking, who pushed me? Then his wife said, "Me." Yeah. And they always say that, I mean, the story said behind every successful man, there's a woman who actually pushed them. I always say behind every successful entrepreneur, there's somebody who pushed them to that entrepreneur. And it depends on who that is. Because if I knew what I know about entrepreneurship right now, especially in 2020, probably I will have just taken up another job and not started a company. Because entrepreneurship is a very successful endeavor, but it is full of lots of hardship, lots of crocodiles that can eat you up. So how do I get here? So I was working in corporate. I was doing well in my career. I was going up the ladder. And I was getting this dissatisfaction inside of me of what do I want to do with my life? And every time I thought maybe my next job will fulfill that for me, and I will get like a better job. I'll perform and do well. And anybody who has worked with me will tell you that I give my 150% at work. So I worked really hard. I'm an alcoholic. I'm not proud of that term, but I am one of those people who just tend to work really hard. And for me, I was just working hard. And then in my last assignment, we worked really hard. We were a team of I had a really great team of people and worked really hard. We got lots of things done. But I mean, the end of it was not great. And I was really disappointed. I took 2 months off anything to try and think, what do I want to do with my life? In those 2 months, I got like 10 job offers. And I was thinking, do I want to get into another place where this might just come back again? And I remember having this conversation with one of the headhunters. And I asked him, why do you want me to come and work for you? He said, because you have the right skill set between public sector, private sector, and public sector, private sector, and government. Because I'd worked with African Development Bank, so my clients were governments, and I worked with Google and Google and Safaricom and Microsoft. So I had that deep tech industrial work, and then I had worked with an NGO, so I understood how NGO work worked. And then I had this academic background because I have this PhD thing. So that combination is amazing, and that's what we want to do. And then I think it clicked on me that I'd never actually sat down and appreciated all these things I've been doing in my life, because I just go. Like, I never sit down and just take stock of what I have done. And I started just thinking about it. So I interviewed with one person in a different industry, and another one, and another one. And I realized I had not interviewed with 2 companies from the same industry. They were all different, and they all wanted me to work with them. And so it's realizing there's something here that I have not realized my whole entire life. That tech, I don't have to work in a tech company. I can work for any company that is doing digital stuff, digital transformation. And in all those interviews, even if it was interviewing, they'll ask me a question around something they are going through. It was a leadership role, and you have to, you have to have like practical examples that you're responding to. And I respond to them and answer something. Say, oh wow, that is nice. And they'll say me, I hope you don't mind us using some of that. And I say, no, it's an interview. It doesn't matter. Even if you use it and you don't tell me, it doesn't matter. But some people are really nice. And that's what I'm realizing. There's a thread here that every company is going to need tech skills throughout their life. And then I realized I know this bunch of people that I worked with before, not just at Alpha, but other places that have the same skill set that I have. Maybe not as mature as me, but they have it. What if we ganged up? So I reached out to one of my friends, my really good friends, and I said, hi, I'm thinking we should start a company that is solving for people who are trying to do digital and set up innovation. You have set up innovation stuff. I have set up innovation stuff. So I understand. You understand what it means to. Sorry. You understand what it means to actually set up innovation functions and do open innovation. I understand what it means to do corporate innovation. And he was like, yeah, I actually do. So we thought about it and thought about it, and we brought in somebody else who understands tech deeply. And that's how we grew. We sat down and said, okay, how do we start? Who do we start with? So we started targeting people who had been consulting with us for free, and said, okay, now that we have been giving you this free information, why don't we now start charging you? And that's how we started. So it was like being thrown out there and learning how to swim and running away from the crocodiles and the shark. I don't think we are on the other side of the riverbank yet, but we are there. And having said how I got there, I had to now have my why. So sometimes you are there, then you're asking, why am I doing this? Is it because of the money? Is it because I want to be independent? Is it because I want why am I doing this? What kind of fulfillment? What at the end of it, when I sit down with my life and I'm having that conversation, is why am I an entrepreneur instead of going to corporate or doing something different with my life? And for me, the why is being able to provide a holistic excellence in how people work. Yeah. And this is something I've been especially these last 2 weeks when I've been sick, so I didn't have much to do other than just sleep and take medicine. I've been thinking about it. Why do I do the things I do? Do I do this to help people just get money, which is an important thing because people have to eat and feed their family and take kids to school? And why do I do it myself? Yes, I need money and stuff. If money was not a problem, would I be doing what I'm doing today? And the answer is yes. Yeah. Every day I solve a problem for a customer, and a problem that has been pressing them for a long, long time. Sorry, my throat is still tickling. And the problem has been persistent for a long time. You see the relief on their face, then you realize that you're actually doing something in the world. Or when I'm doing this and somebody in my team emails me and says, Shiko, I feel so much fulfillment working with here. I'm doing what I need to do. I've been wanting to do with my whole life. So for example, last week when I was sick, somebody called me and said, Shiko, I really appreciate that you gave me this opportunity at Kala, because I've gotten to do some things that I've not been able to do anywhere else. And that just creating opportunities for other people is very, very important for me. But also being able to influence. The things we've been able to do in Kala in the 11 months we've been existing are things we would not have been able to achieve anywhere else in the world for 10 years, to be honest. And it's about timing. I can't take credit for the timing. I'll give God the credit for the timing. We started in January, and then March, what happens? COVID hit Kenya. And we are here at that time we were 15. And we were thinking, what are we going to do? Then a week later, of course, our clients start calling and saying, you know what, with this COVID, what's going to happen? And we realized that, you know what, we need to be able to be important and relevant in this time of COVID. We don't know how we are going to do that, but we have to start with something. Then we sat down and realized, let's study what everybody's doing. We realized data is going to be a very important role in influencing how COVID is going to be subdued in Kenya and in Africa. So we offered ourselves as free labor to the government of Kenya, our data science team, to constantly be crunching data to influence policy and decision making. And if you can remember the information around closing of borders like Nairobi and Mombasa, if you remember the information around what is it called, the curfews, all that stuff was informed because of the data we were seeing in terms of mobility. How are people moving? If all the projections was part of our team, because we teamed up with the University of Nairobi, who have epidemiologists and virologists to work with us to be able to deliver on this. Even now, right now, we are working, like over the weekend, we're working all over throughout the weekend to be able to influence some of the decisions that are being made today. Because this week, as you've been seeing, COVID is really bad. And I mean, I have been there and done that. It's really bad. Don't even try it. Because of all of that, we are constantly being asked by people in government, by Ministry of Health, by Ministry of ICT, to just help continuously inform what is the data telling us. And there's nothing as good as being asked, what is the data telling us? That makes sure that your work is being listened to. And that for me is fulfillment, being able to help save a few lives. Between March and August, all the decisions that the information that we gave and made the decision saved lots of lives. Yeah. And now they're coming back to us and saying, what else should we be doing? For me, it's things like that. It's more than money. It's being able to influence decision. It's being able to impact people's lives and change lives. I mean, change the world. I can say in 2020, the team and I have actually changed the world, because I took that step of saying, you know what, I'm going to ignore, send apology letters, call people up and say, I'm sorry, I cannot take that job because I want to pursue this thing that I believe has something important to offer to the world. So that is my transition to entrepreneurship, and I'm enjoying it. It's not easy. Sometimes there's a few sleepless nights when you're thinking, how are we going to make salary this month? But it is something I would not change for anything, because it has been the most influential 11 months of my life. Thank you very much.
Welcome back,
everyone. And wow, what an amazing session we've had. Insightful talks. And I just want to thank Mary Washeke. Thank you for taking us through building your career capital and also letting us know that our career is not a job, it's a journey. I would also like to thank Karen Sherry. Thank you very much for reminding us that it's important to have women in cybersecurity, and we need to have multi-faced skill set to be able to elevate ourselves into the roles in cybersecurity. Dr. Shiko Gitau, sharing your journey about how you moved from being employed to entrepreneurship. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. And it also shows us that we can also take the leap. It is not easy, but thank you for showing us that it's possible. Coming up next is our second panel session. I would like to invite our moderator, Stacy Maliti. Stacy is a business development manager at Fast Distribution. She will be chairing our panel, and our panel is about shaping soft skills for social good. Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you're having a good time at home and the sessions that are going on are keeping you company and also giving you a bit of knowledge. My name is Stacy Maliti. As mentioned, I'm the Business Development Manager for Fast Distribution. I cover East Africa, that's Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Rwanda, and I cover a broad of products covering cloud. That's Microsoft, AWS, Sage 50, Vim, VMware, and as I mentioned, on the cloud. As Catherine has just introduced, we're going to have our panel discussion on shaping soft skills for social good. And at this point, I would like to just ask the panel to introduce themselves. And as they do that, I would want them to focus on the question on what role has self-confidence played in your career journey as you transitioned up the ladder. We can start with Karen.
Everyone, thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. I've really enjoyed the conference so far. Some very interesting talks. My name is Karen Cherry, and I'm the CEO of ESET East Africa, a role which I've been doing since 2018. Before this, I started my career in information systems and design in the Netherlands and went on to manage software development teams in the UK and South Africa. I think self-confidence has played a very big role in my career, actually. In my early career, I was lucky enough to have a great manager, a mentor, who enabled me to grow a lot in my role. So oftentimes, I've had to demonstrate mastery to build my self-confidence. I don't naturally go into things assuming I'm going to be able, to be a master of whatever it may be. So I set myself very high standards. I have gained experience and learned to trust in my abilities. So, too, has my confidence increased. It's very much a journey, I think. I think that's an important message I have. You need to give yourself space to be confident, and doubting yourself is actually part of that. I think self-questioning can really plague women in their roles. And I think it's important to recognize that it's part of the learning process. It motivates you to want to improve. Confidence is not a constant state for many. And I think there are things you can do to help you develop your confidence, like visualizing a positive outcome. One of the 7 habits comes to mind. Begin with the end in mind. And I read a quote recently. Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right."
Thank you for that, Karen. If we could go to Anita, please.
Happy to be on this panel and to just share my thoughts with the rest of the viewers. So my name is Anita Chege. I work for HF Group. I'm the head of digital transformation, as well as the PMO office. So I run the technology agenda in terms of digital transformation for the bank. And I've been on this role for the past 2 years. So my journey actually just started. I was a developer from the onset. I did IT in campus. I went into consulting. That saw me do a lot of development that I didn't like much, I must say. But that later on saw me grow into project management, which is where I really found my passion. And because of working in project management and product development led me now to the role I'm in right now. So if you look at a lot of technology companies, there are very few women. So self-confidence becomes very important. I think one of the greatest skills I acquired at a very young age when I just started working is how to speak out on on my thoughts or on my thoughts on particular issues very candidly and very with a lot of confidence. So that takes a lot of personal initiatives. So if you need to join certain programs like Toastmasters and certain programs that help you build that self-confidence is very important. And also what also adds to your self-confidence is knowing your stuff.
True.
Yeah, so you have to really work on developing yourself, you want to work in or to grow in. And that also helps with the self-confidence.
Thank you for that, Anita. Winnie, if we could go to you.
Opportunity. Big thanks to Hernovation for this time. And as an introduction, my name is Winnie Sergon. I've been in the ICT industry for 10 years now, and I've worked in various industries, the hospitality industry. I have been in the healthcare. I've been in the financial sector, the telecommunication sector, and currently transiting to the energy sector. What I can say is that confidence plays a major role when it comes to taking a leap of what you're going to do in your stuff, the way Anita has mentioned, and you have to understand also the environment for you to be confident of what you're sharing. Are you on point? You sharing with the others, because being a leader requires you to be confident, requires you to make decisions that will give a strategic decision, a strategic way forward for the organization. So confidence really, really takes a lot when it comes to decision making, when it comes to leading, and also when it comes to self-awareness. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Winnie. And finally on the panel, Michelle.
Michelle Odwar. I am a Senior Systems Analyst at Kengen PLC and the Vice President Membership at Simba Toastmasters. Self-confidence has indeed played a major role in my career path. It has enabled me to be able to speak confidently in a precise and concise, eloquent manner. It has also increased my productivity because I am sure of what I can and what I cannot do. It has already been mentioned, knowing yourself. It has also given me the courage to look for opportunities. If there's a team I'd want to join or a project I would like to be involved in, self-confidence has enabled me to go and ask to be part of the team. And confidence also influences other people. So you'll find you have better working relationships at work. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Michelle. As you can hear, what we are learning is the fact that you have to be bold. As much as you'll feel the insecurities, as much as you'll question yourself, you have to work your way up and just be able to have some confidence. In my own experience, I started as an e-learning assistant and went up the ladder to become a big person in the sales IT business. The difference that came in was just the interpersonal skills that I had to learn. So back to the ladies to just ask, in terms of interpersonal skills, what did you apply, whether it's IQ, EQ, AQ, that helped you to just become the woman that you are now in the role that you're in? This time, maybe we can start with Winnie on that question. On interpersonal skills, just what role it played in your life.
Interpersonal skills really drives an individual in terms of how you can relate with the others, how you what you feel, how you relate to the environment around you, because we coexist as a community each and every day. And interpersonal skills really is a key major role. Also, being in the technology sector where I'm dominated, interpersonal skills also helps you in the approach when it comes to collaboration, when it comes to working late, when it comes to passing a message to the appropriate people. Because at times you find that in some communities, sorry to bring out people, a woman is there to be seen, not to be heard.
Correct.
If you turn to the corporate world, it really becomes difficult to exist or to coexist. Mm-hmm. So at times you have to be confident, be bold, break the stereotype, and let other people know that you're here because you're not because you're favored as a woman. So interpersonal plays a key major role, so that you don't also show some sort of arrogance, but show that you're bold enough, aware of why you're here, and you are not any favorable than that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Winnie. We can go to Michelle on the same question.
So interpersonal skills have indeed helped in my career path. One, I'll focus on one that I think has helped in great deal. This is listening skills.
Yes.
With being a good listener, you get to know more facts. You get to know that not just the truth, but the whole truth.
Correct.
People tend to say things that they are not really saying. And also, with the listening skills, I get a better understanding of exactly what is expected from me, which also helps in my work. So I actually get things done. You get a better grasp of what is going on around you, which is really important in the workplace. People actually do not say everything, but having to listen to people and what they're saying gives you a grasp of everything that's going on around you. And listening skills is not something that maybe you may have, but it can be practiced. So little by little, we can actually get to have better listening skills. Thank you.
Thank you for that critical point, Michelle, just on pointing out how important it is to focus on just listening to your people as you lead them and even the things that they're not saying. To you, Anita, on the same question on interpersonal skills.
All right. I think you mentioned around IQ, EQ. And for me, I usually take this on a very practical point of view because, first of all, it's very important to understand yourself as a person in regard to what are your personality traits, the good and the bad traits that you have, because that helps you to be able to relate with other people. So one of the things that I do, so right now I manage a team of both, mostly developers who are men.
Yes.
So one of the things that I took upon myself is to really go a step further and understand their personalities and how their personalities make them work or relate in the office, which I found very important. And I apply the same theory also in my personal relationships with my friends and those close to me, because I know there are certain aspects about me in terms of my traits that usually clash with other people of a different set of personality. So I think when it comes to interpersonal skills, that is one of the first things that anyone should do for themselves, to understand yourself from that point of view. And then now, as you relate with people, you also get to understand them from that point of view. Then everything else will come in and gel well.
Thank you for that, Anita. I mean, for me, and even just pointing out on the fact that you always have to know the balance as to the personalities that you're actually leading within the team, and then the personality that you are, because sometimes normally you would have a challenge in terms of just identifying what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and how you place people. The critical thing that I've learned in my journey is AQ, which is adaptability quotient. And what I've learned, especially in sales, is just being able to know at what point are you actually having the conversation with people? Will they close the deal? Will they buy? And at that point, when you're actually reporting to maybe 3 different spectrums, whether you're selling for the vendor, and for the vendor side, you're representing the company that you're working for, but then you're also selling to the end user. It is critical to always know at what point are you actually maybe translating margins, at what point are you actually just making sure that you're making profits within the company and you're meeting the targets for the vendor. On to our next question, which maybe points out to what we've just spoken about. And it's on toxic colleagues and dealing with them. I don't know if any of you have had any experience of it. Sometimes you'll find a boss who just doesn't want to give you that promotion. Sometimes you'll find it's that particular colleague who just doesn't want to help you finish the project or help you do it. How have you dealt with toxic colleagues within the work environment? We can start with you, Kerry, on this one.
Oh, thanks, Stacey. Yeah, I've actually witnessed a number of toxic colleagues in my career, and it's been quite difficult to deal with some of them because at times it's been my boss, which obviously makes it harder to voice your concerns.
True.
And sometimes the toxicity can be quite undercurrent and kind of not outright. So, a comment here or there that doesn't sit right, but everyone in the room kind of moves on quickly, But I think it's really important to speak up, and I think this has been a key topic throughout this conference so far. You don't need to make a big scene. You just need to calmly stand your ground. And often if it happens to be a male, you might actually have to spell it out a bit because, it might not be obvious. So, I just think that, you need to put down your boundaries. And if you see it happening to others, do something. It doesn't, as I said, it doesn't need to be a scene, but say something and make it factual. Base it on the facts. Don't get too emotional depending on, severity of it. But, I generally think that if you're working in a good environment, there must be channels available for you to raise your concerns.
True. Thank you for that, Karen. Just especially identifying what's happening around you, not just speaking for yourself, but also for the people around you. Anita, if we could just go to you on the same question, dealing with toxic colleagues.
All right, thank you. I think it's a very interesting discussion because colleagues, you really can't get rid of them. If you have a toxic relationship with either a man or a lady friend, you can easily get out of that very easily. So when it comes to the working environment, then you need to be very tactful about how you handle that scenario. And I like what Terry says in terms of, first of all, working with facts. One of the things that I've had to learn, even as I'm growing in my career, is around, again, back to knowing yourself. So I'm a very emotional person. And whether I'm upset or happy, it's very evident in my demeanor, in my face. Actually, my friends tell me I wear my emotions. So one of the things that I've had to do is to take a check on that. So there are certain exercises that I do at that point when I'm expressing my emotion, so that again, it's not counterproductive to the situation. So I don't get upset and then it just makes the situation all much, much worse.
Yeah.
So if I can take a particular example in my career, I remember one of my initial bosses when I left consulting was a woman, and her expectations of work were very high. And I remember when we were just starting the relationship, it was really, really hard for me to cope. But what I did is I went and spoke to her candidly in terms of the kind of person I am.
Mm-hmm.
And when it would get to certain points where we are starting to be confrontational,
Mm-hmm.
I would actually excuse myself from that that moment,
Yes.
and excuse myself to go and chill, take a chill pill,
Yes.
and get back to my senses before it becomes really ugly. So you have to know yourself and know what you need at that point of that confrontation in such toxic relationships. But also you have to use facts when you're trying to deal with such a person, so that even when they try to come back to you, you already have, you're talking from facts. And to Kerry's point, if that doesn't work, then I'm sure there are certain processes within organizations that allow you to escalate such issues for better resolution.
Thank you for that, Anita, and just being direct and telling us just the personality that you have. I think we share the same, where you wear your emotions and you always just have to put yourself in check to be able to do that. I think we'll just jump on to the next two set of questions that we have, just because of time. I'd like to ask, in terms of goal setting, what exactly did you do in your career path that you were able to actually achieve and get to where you're going? Did you write things down? Did you speak to mentors? And as we double up that question, I'd want to focus on, when you look at yourself on a professional level and then on a personal level, did you create a brand for yourself? Does the industry know you as, for example, Anita Chega, who's at Housing Finance? Or do they know you as the actual person in the IT industry and as a project manager? So we can start with Anita, given that I've just pointed out on a few things.
All right. Okay, thank you for that. I think one of the key things that I've learned over the years, okay, I'm not too old, but I have some, yes, I've been working for almost 14 years in tech. And one of the things that I did not have when I was starting off my career is that opportunity to get a mentor or a coach to assist me chart out my career, both professionally and also at a personal level. So these are some of the things that I've had to acquire over time. And that's why I really appreciate having people around your circle who help you to start thinking about some of these things. So if I may say, I have a very close circle of friends who have helped me develop some of these things as I go. And I can say right now, people actually identify me as a thought leader in digital, where whatever it is I'm doing right now, because I'm very passionate about it.
Yes.
From a personal level, people also know Anita, the wife, Anita, the mother of Natalia and Liam. So I have two different spaces. I have my professional space, and I also have my personal space, where I'm able to share with my personal friends, activities with my children, what I enjoy to do, and also on the professional space, where I'm able to share about, my thoughts around what I'm really passionate about in terms of work. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, Anita, and just identifying the two spaces that, especially as a woman, you get to play, whether it's at home and then in the work office. Michelle, if we could just get an answer from you in terms of goal setting and then personal and professional brand.
Okay. So you must have a plan. If you do not know where you're going, there's a very high chance that you're going nowhere. So have a plan, have your short term, know where you want to be in the short term, know where you want to be in the long term, and have objectives, actionable objectives. And something else that has helped me in my career is that, as they say, you need to have a board of directors. These are people I go to in case I need any guidance or I need any advice. So there's that close circle that I have that I usually go to for advice here and there. And also something, as you're setting the goals, I've also learned that I need to learn and unlearn, especially in the tech space. Things keep on changing very fast. So I'm learning to learn and then learn. And something else about the close circle I have, which has been hard for me, is learning to take criticism. So that really helps me in the long haul and also helps in my goal setting and all that. So for the personal and professional brand, for me, it's first to know who you really are, because the core of who you are doesn't really change in the workspace or in the home environment. And also set personal standards. I would call it your own code of conduct in the workplace, which also helps you in creating a personal brand. So everyone knows Michelle is this way, and everywhere you go, Michelle, these are her values and these are her standards. So she will not go below these standards depending on where she is. So it's good to be aligned and know who you are, the core of who you are. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Michelle, and just emphasizing on the fact that you remain who you are regardless of where you go. You just need either to command different aspects of life, but you remain who you are. Karen, if you could just answer us on the same question as well.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Stacey. I think I have a broad range of experience in participating in and managing teams in tech, and I think what has been crucial is my willingness to learn and put myself in uncomfortable situations in order to grow. So my goals have really been to grow and to master. One's learning agility and attitude are so important. And I mentioned in my talk, we live in a VUCA world, and the pandemic today has thrown the cat among the pigeons. So we need to be able to keep with the times and keep learning to stay ahead in our fields. So I think it's possibly, and I think what Anita said is so true. It's possibly less of a goal that I've set myself, but more of a state of being. Learning agility and having a good appetite for knowledge is, makes an impact. When it comes to personal and professional brands, I think it's really important to match your values and your environment and essentially be your authentic self. So I've come to learn this, and that you have to marry what you are doing in your work and who you are doing it with to who you are.
True.
And if you find that there's a rift there, you won't be able to truly walk the walk and talk the talk of the brand, but also you won't be motivated to grow yourself. And I speak from personal experience here. I'm an introvert, and I think some women can feel very introverted in the workplace in IT. And it's even more difficult to feel like you deserve a seat at the table. And
Yes.
I just want to point out that there's a fantastic book called Quiet by Susan Cain. in which she becomes a leader and shows us how important introverted women are in the workplace. So I really recommend you read that. But yes, part of the journey in your career is, have a plan, set your objectives, but also make sure that you understand that those objectives might change over time, and with your experiences as you go. So keep agile and keep learning.
Thank you for that, Karen. Winnie, I'll just ask you to comment on the same, on goal setting and personal and professional brand. As you also do that, I'll ask you to just give us our closing remarks as we're coming to the end of the panel discussion.
Okay. On the setting of goals, it's very important to have what you are visualizing about, where you want to get, then you can be able to chart a way forward on how to get there. So as part of growth, what I really had to do was to set a goal, have the determination in place. What are my first wins when I am involved in a project, when I'm a new hire or when I join an institution, and what are the emerging, because whatever was important 10 years ago might not be relevant now. Keeping abreast with all that and being focused is very key when it comes to goal setting and working towards that goal. It's not attainable because it keeps on improving each and every time. Else you will not have reason to coexist if you meet it when or you could have set it too low when you meet it too soon. And the other aspect of professional personality and professional matching, we all believe in values. My values that I believe in will be different with what so-and-so is believing in, the way my peers have mentioned. But who are you? If you are asked today without your title as an employee of this and this organization, who are you as a person? So at times it's good to go extra mile to find out who you are. For example, Winnie, I'd say I'm a strategic thinker. Bring on what you think we can be able to dissect and you can discuss and get a way forward. I'm a mentor to many, something that comes in with time. As you're a leader, as you grow, as you also inspire others, there's a way that at some point there are people who are looking up to you as a mentor. So those steps are crucial. And also the role model aspect. Who is your role model? For example, myself, Michelle Obama is a very good role model to me. Without Michelle Obama, I cannot imagine Obama being the president of the US if the presence of Michelle Obama was missing. That is what I would say. Each and every time you should have someone who inspires you, and then let that person give you a reason why you need forward each and every day and time.
All right, thank you, Winnie, for that. Ladies, in 30 seconds, I'll just like to get your closing remarks, starting with Michelle.
Thank you very much. I would say get serious about setting your goals, be passionate, but do not kill yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Anita?
All right. I think know yourself. When you know yourself, you're very powerful, both in your professional and personal life. Develop yourself, create a reading culture. And one of the books that Kerry has recommended, I've actually noted it down to get. And then trust the process. Give yourself time to grow. Don't be in a hurry. Yeah, all of us have taken time to get to where we are, and it will also take us time to get even to higher roles. So trust the process and follow the process.
Karen, on your final remarks. Thank you for that, Anita.
Yeah, just thank you, Hernovation and CIO, for the opportunity to highlight the importance of women in tech at the moment, because I think it's such important work that we need to do, and particularly in the realm of cybersecurity. I think to the ladies out there who are doing it all, wives, children, everything, I just want to say you are valued, and think about what you bring to the table, because your skills add to the diversity of the team. So don't downplay them. And most importantly, fight for what you're worth, because you are typically worth more than you feel you are worth. Thank you.
Thank you for that, ladies, and for the amazing session and discussion that we've had so far. I appreciate the time. I would like to thank CIO East Africa for the session. I would also like to thank for the women who've paved way for us, and even the men who've actually helped us to get to where we are. in reference to everything, I normally love leaving with a quote of don't just send the lift down, equip people with the tools that they need to actually to get up the ladder. Thank you so much and have a good rest of the session.
Good afternoon, ladies. My name is Dr. Michelle Mohana from One Health Medical Center, which is an outpatient facility offering outpatient services to patients here in Nairobi. And today I'm happy to be allowed to speak to you about keeping well and keeping healthy, even with the COVID pandemic. I'll just start with a quote on health. This is from one of my favorite people. Her name is Eleanor Roosevelt, and she says that beautiful young people are accidents of nature, but beautiful people are works of art. Isn't that nice? So we'll just go straight into the presentation, and I'll start with the WHO definition of health. It states that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. This is very true. However, we usually summarize it by saying that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. Basically, you could not be having an infection or a disease, but you have a mental problem, or you're physically unhealthy, you're obese, or you're socially not well, you're out of a job, you're stressed, you've lost a loved one, you cannot say you're healthy. Because health is a combination of all these things. And now let's talk about wellness. Wellness is a bit different because wellness is a state of a healthy body and mind, especially as a result of a deliberate effort. So you have to make an effort to be well. And this is achieved through most of the lifestyle choices that we make. Whether we decide to eat healthy, whether we decide to exercise, how we manage our stress, our harmony with the people around us, the environment, with God, or whoever we believe in, those actually affect our wellness. And also when we talk about wellness, this is supported by avoidance of risky behavior. And we know all those things, things that can affect our health. Excessive smoking, excessive drinking, drug abuse, exposure to other toxins. This can affect our wellness. And the different characteristics of wellness. In wellness, we look at the physical wellness, we look at our emotional, we look at our intellectual wellness, our spiritual wellness, interpersonal wellness, and environmental wellness. And we have what we call a pathway to wellness. Just share it on one of the slides. And I talked about emotional wellness. You can see here, emotional wellness is being self-aware. You have a positive outlook to life. I'm sure we've met people who are very positive and they have a lot of good faith. That is emotional wellness, as compared to people who are negative, who are unable to manage their feelings, do not accept themselves, who have very bad coping behaviors. That is poor emotional wellness. And for us to achieve this, we have to be able to cope with different things that come to that we face. Then we have the physical wellness, which is very simple. It basically means being active, eating well, sleeping enough. How many of us today have slept for more than 6 hours at least? Yeah, need to get enough sleep. And then being safe and secure. That is our physical wellness. We also have occupational wellness, engaging in rewarding activities, making good use of our time. Yeah? We use our time to do exercise or things that make us feel better. We use our time in activities that are harmful. Yeah? We have our work satisfaction. We enjoy going to the office and interacting with people. We do CSR, right? Helping other people, giving back to the society. That also helps us with wellness. Being creative, trying something new, trying a hobby, yeah, doing your new time. And then there's a spiritual wellness. You cannot have complete wellness without being spiritually sound, which is experiencing a connection with yourself, with nature, with people around you, practicing faith, whatever your faith is, celebrating your cultural identity and being aware of who you are. We have what you call intellectual wellness. Yeah, being a lifelong learner, we always need to learn new things. We're never too old. We always have to try different things. Sharing our knowledge and experiences. Mastering new skills. What have we learned this year in 2020? Have we learned how to have proper hygiene? Have we learned how to cope with infectious diseases? Practicing new skill, helping people around us, expanding our knowledge and being curious, learning something new. Now we should all be learning about the vaccine or what is coming up in the coming year. And these are the pathways to wellness. And what I can say about wellness is that, and we also have to make sure that we're productive members of the society. Health promotion is a process of enabling people to increase control and to improve their health. It moves beyond our individual behavior and towards a range of social and environmental interventions. And how do we promote health? We need to adopt a healthy lifestyle. And I'll talk a bit about eating healthy, exercising, stress management, and control. We need to ensure this, we don't have obesity. Yeah? We need to engage in healthy eating practices. We need to take supplements to be able to stay healthy. We need to exercise. And when we talk about obesity, which is affecting many of us here, what is obesity? Obesity is an increased body weight. And I'm sure most of you have gone to hospital when you've been told that your BMI is overweight or underweight or obese. So basically, we calculate your weight and your height, and we look at what your BMI is. And some of the risks of being obese is that you're at a high risk of getting a heart attack, a high risk of getting strokes, a high risk of getting diabetes, hypertension, even cancers. Being obese can actually predispose you to getting cancer of the uterus, cancer of the breast, and cancer of the prostate, cancer of the colon. We've had people getting gallstones, which is stones clogging our gallbladder as a result of excessive weight. Osteoarthritis has been linked to excessive weight. Fatty liver, respiratory problems. We've seen people who snore at night and they even have difficulty in breathing. And also depression and social isolation. When you're obese, you do not feel good. You do not feel like interacting with other people. You do not feel nice anymore in the clothes that you wear. These are some of the health problems related to it. I'll mention a bit about cancer. And cancer is basically uncontrolled cell growth. We have benign cancer cells and malignant cells. So benign cells are not cancerous and they do not spread. However, we have malignant cells that spread to other parts of our body. And how do we avoid cancer? We need to avoid cigarette smoking. We need to use sunscreen. Yes, even in Africans need to use sunscreen. We need to eat more vegetables. less fat, and less red meat. Our nutritionists usually recommend that you eat red meat at least only once in a month. You need to exercise and watch your weight. You need to do regular checkups. And what are the things that we can do in order to live healthy? And I've mentioned a bit about a healthy diet. We need to eat more vegetables. There's a research that was done and it showed that people who eat a lot of vegetables are less predisposed to getting cancer of the colon. Yeah? So we need to increase vegetables and fruits. High fiber food, high fiber starches like whole grain, brown rice. Yeah? We need to take more of that and avoid low fiber starches like cakes and cheese and mandazis. Use unsaturated fats. They are there. In fact, I'm happy now when you go to the supermarket, there's a lot of information on how much fat the oil you buy contains, what kind of fat it has. And then consume fat-free, low-fat milk. Yeah? Take products that are lean. Yeah? When you're buying your meat, ensure you buy lean meat. Avoid processed foods. Yeah? Avoid foods with a lot of salt and added sugars. Those are not healthy. You also need to drink enough water. How much water do you need? It's recommended that you take at least 2 liters water a day, at least. Of course, when you're exercising, when you're taking alcohol or coffee, when you're traveling, when you're unwell, you need to increase the amount of water to at least 3 liters. 8 liters is just 8 glasses a day. And you don't have to take them all at once. You can actually divide them in different glasses during the day. So you can take maybe 2 glasses when you wake up at 10 o'clock. At lunchtime, you take your meals with water. In the afternoon and just before dinner. Yeah? That way, of course, you don't take too much water before you sleep and interrupt your sleep. You also need to exercise. Exercise is very good. It has a lot of benefits to our bodies. Exercise can help us with our cardiovascular system. Our heart needs to be exercised. We need to exercise at least for 30 minutes a day. And the exercise you're doing, you have to make sure that your heart rate is above 100. Yeah? So you need to do, if it's walking, it has to be brisk walking, running, or any other form of exercise. And this can help protect us from getting hypertension, heart disease. We also need to exercise for weight loss. Yeah? Some of us are already struggling with excessive weight. We need to exercise at least every other day. Exercise also increases our bone strength and our density. As we grow older as women, our calcium levels will reduce. We also have the issue of hormones. So we need to exercise more. We have to strengthen our bones, for our bones to be able to produce calcium. Exercise is also important in stress management and mental relaxation. Yeah? When you exercise, you're able to manage stress, you're able to focus on something that you're trying to do. Yeah? And weight management is important. And weight management is very simple. It's basically exercise, diet. If we eat healthier, if we reduce the amount of calories we have in a day, and we burn the calories, then we'll be able to manage our weight. We also need to avoid smoking and taking alcohol in excess, because both of these are associated with lifestyle diseases. Another important factor is that we need to know our family, our personal medical history. We need to know about chronic illnesses in our family. If you had somebody who is close to you who has died of a cancer, a certain condition is prevalent in the family, it's important to be screened regularly. We've had breast cancer in families. We've had ovarian cancer. If you're prone to breast cancer, you need to do a mammogram more often, or even earlier than somebody who has no family history of breast cancer. And for women, there's some preventive tests that are completely necessary. All of us need to take a pap smear. A pap smear is actually a test to check for early detection of cervical cancer for women who are sexually active. We need to ensure that at least every year we take a pap smear. For those who are able to afford the vaccine or who would like can also take a HPV vaccine, which is available in different medical centers, and it's a lifelong vaccine. You prevent you from getting cervical cancer. Mammograms are also very important, and clinical breast exams. If you're above the age of 40 in Kenya, you have to have a mammogram when you get to the age of 40. You need to do a clinical breast exam daily, because these are cancers that are prevalent within us. There are other preventive tests that we can do as part of our checkup. If you've had a history of somebody with colon cancer, colonoscopies, we need to check our cholesterol levels. And even beginning with the age of 45, you have to check your cholesterol levels every year. You need to screen for diabetes, especially diabetes type 2, because if it's discovered early, you'll be able to manage it better. You need to check your blood pressure regularly. Any opportunity that you get when you go to hospital, when you encounter a healthcare provider, check your blood pressure. And then hormonal imbalance is also very common, especially for women between the age of 40 and 45. We need to check our hormones. And lastly, I'll talk about stress management, which is very important. There are several ways to manage stress. The most important thing is to avoid rollover. Even in our workplace, let's not take on more than we can handle. Let's plan our work and be able to know when to say no and when to accept different things. Eat balanced meals and mood boosting options. There's certain foods that boost our mood. We need to ensure that we're eating the right foods. Alcohol is a depressant. It does not help in managing stress. Ensure you get enough sleep, at least 6 hours a day. Take time off. Even now with the COVID restriction, take a vacation. Do a local tour. Drive somewhere, relax, enjoy time with your family. Take some time off gadgets and other things. Just spend time with people. Take long walks. This can help in managing stress. And schedule your me time. Always have a time when you do something for yourself that you enjoy. Engage in physical activities. Get a massage, yoga, meditation. These are important in stress management. Also, practice forgiveness within you. Sometimes people disappoint us, but practice forgiveness and letting go. This will help in managing stress. And then engage in social activities, like gatherings that enhance your mood, whether it's going to church, listening to music, therapy, talking to people. This can also help in managing stress. And as I come to the end of my presentation, I'll just end with another quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. And she says, "A woman is like a tea bag. You don't know how strong she is until she gets into hot water." Thank you.
Hernovation is a women in tech leadership initiative that focuses on elevating the status of women in the IT profession. Being our 3rd year anniversary since inception, our theme for this year is dubbed Leaping into the New Normal. And to celebrate our achievements, we have a wonderful array of successful and innovative women who are active members of Hernovation and have made an impact in what glaringly is a male-dominated industry, and have contributed to the advancement of the information and technology sector. First, we have
Agnes Gadhaya. Miss Agnes Gadhaya is a business transformation leader with over 24 years in commercial leadership. She has worked for companies like ACP, Chase Bank, Safaricom, Pesalink, and was most recently appointed as the country director for East Africa at Google. Miss Gadhaya is a board member of the Hernovation program, and she uses her experience and leadership skills to teach women how to empower themselves. This is by cultivating their soft skills in order to gain success in male-dominated industries like the information and technology sector. Catherine Muraga. Ms. Catherine Muraga, a C-level executive with a passion to apply technology to create business outcome, is an experienced IT professional with a demonstrated history of working in the manufacturing, airline, and banking industry. This year, Catherine was chosen to be the Chief Information Officer at Stanbic Bank. As a board member of Hernovation, Ms. Moraga uses the platform to educate women in the IT industry on how to improve their negotiation and pitching skills, as well as tact and emotional skills in the work environment.
Winnie Segon. Ms. Winnie Segon is a strategist, innovative leader, technology lover, and a cybersecurity enthusiast with interest in problem solving through automation. Being an active participant of the Hernovation program, we have watched her climb the career ladder and recently was appointed as the head of ICT at Lake Turkana Wind Power. She is an industrious and ambitious woman with an inner drive and great passion in what she chooses to undertake.
Michelle Odwor. Michelle Odwor is an analytical and result-oriented ICT professional with over 10 years' experience in system analysis, development, and ICT service management. Ms. Odwor has been working for Kengen for more than 10 years, climbing up the corporate hierarchy through the years and managing to attain the title of Senior System Analyst. After attending one of the Hernovation programs, she learned how to develop her soft skills, mainly public speaking. She was thereafter immediately appointed as the Vice President at Simba Toastmasters, a non-profit organization that teaches public speaking and leadership skills.
Catherine Kinyanjui. Catherine Kinyanjui is an IT professional. She is currently working at East African Breweries Limited, EABL, as an employee experience lead with a key role in delivering digital transformational change and ensuring that the company technologies and services implemented enhance Catherine Kinyanjui. Catherine Kinyanjui is an IT professional. She is currently working at East African Breweries Limited, EABL, as an employee experience lead with a key role in delivering digital transformational change and ensuring that the company technologies and services implemented enhance the employees' performance and enable them to work in a liberated yet safe and secure way.
Wow. What a morning and what an early afternoon. This has turned out to be such an amazing, amazing session. And who would have thought a virtual summit would turn out like this? Thank you so much for spending the last couple of hours with us. I have been watching the conversations going on in the platform, and it's been amazing how you've been engaging. I can see you're appreciating the content that we put out together for you. As I told you, we're going to have a fantastic session with fantastic speakers who have a wealth of knowledge to share. But most importantly about these summits is the fact that we are able to network and get to know each other better, share ideas, share our fears in a safe environment. So from a personal perspective, I just want to share what I learned from today's session. Number one, we are not living in an era of change, but a change of era. We must always remember that. Number two, fiercely intelligent goth geek girls misinterpret women in tech. A tech woman can look like anyone and dress like anyone. So let us not judge people visually. Number three, by celebrating women female tech leaders, like the way in which Hernovation Forum does, more girls and women are encouraged to take up careers in technology. And I think it is very important that we have celebrated some of our women today from a Hernovation perspective. And we look forward to celebrating more of you. But the most important thing that I've taken away from me today, from a personal perspective, is what Dr. Michelle said. Learn how to forgive and forget. Because you never know what's going to happen next. You don't know how this is going to wear on you from a personal perspective, from a physical perspective, from a mental perspective, and it just ends up dragging on with you. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to our audience. Thank you to our partners. Thank you to my crew. Thank you to my staff. Without you, this would not be possible. We do appreciate you and do look forward to having all of you tomorrow at the CIO 100 Symposium and Awards 2020, which will be virtual tomorrow and Friday, and then in the evening, where we continue to celebrate our technology heroes this year at the CIO Symposium Gala and Awards night at Naivasha from 7 p.m. So thank you very much. Take care of yourselves and keep safe.